Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town of Lake Clark Shores, July 9th town meeting. We could please rise for a moment of silence, invocation by Pastor Stan. Tonight, we want to have a moment of silence for Coy Lee Langley, who was 84 years old, and it was Robert Pollin's grandfather.
He's an employee with the town.
Yes, Robert Pollin is a utility field supervisor. May his memory be eternal. Pastor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let us look to the Lord. In you, Lord, we have taken refuge. Let us never be put to shame. Deliver us in your righteousness. Turn your ear to us. Come quickly to our rescue. Be our rock of refuge, a strong fortress to save us. And since you are our rock and our fortress, for the sake of your name, lead and guide us. Heavenly Father, it is our desire that we might serve you well. Grant us patience, even in the midst of difficult traffic scenarios. Father, I pray that you unite us with love and mercy and grace in thy precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, pledge allegiance, Pastor.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start tonight with the Town of Lake Clark Shores budget hearing. We'll have roll call, please.
Mayor Gregory Freebold.
Here.
Vice Mayor John Maples.
Here.
President Pro Tem Bridget Keating.
Present.
Councilmember Taylor Materio.
Here.
Councilmember Christy Mossbach.
Here.
Okay. We'll get right to it. We have a presentation of the proposed 2024-2025 town budget. So Lovello.
Yes, this is a workshop. So workshop, there's actually no motions made. It's just educational, and it's a way for us to get feedback. We talk to the council members, but they don't talk amongst themselves. And also, this is actually on the agenda later on. And the only thing we're going to be deciding tonight is two things. And it's the proposed millage rate, which is the maximum millage rate we can levy. It can go down from there. And the date of the first public hearing. So that's the only thing we're going to be asking. The rest is just a discussion, and it's a workshop. So we have a PowerPoint presentation, if I can cue that up. And I will start. And we have copies of the budget in the back. It's a big packet. It's about 30 pages, if anybody'd like one. Thank you. Technical difficulties? We just had it up. Oh, there it is. Okay. Obviously, this is the proposed budget for next year. Our fiscal year starts October 1st. So we're 10 months into the year. This is our budget calendar. As you can see, this is the 9th. And you can see there's two items that we need to do on the regular agenda, which is that, which I just said, the maximum millage rate, and also the first public hearing, which is going to be a Monday. So everybody hears it. I can't conflict with the school board or the county's meetings. So we have to pick another meeting than the second Tuesday. So we picked Monday, September 9th. And the second meeting, there's two meetings required for a budget in September, anywhere in the state of Florida, they all have to abide by these rules, is on Tuesday, September 24th. So we'll be advertising those dates. So make sure everybody's okay with them, because that, when we get to the regular agenda, we'll be voting on that. But that's the calendar. As you can see, we've been working on the budget since May. And a lot of cities don't even have a budget this time of the year because it's so early. But we were able to get a budget together because a lot of the revenues, state revenues, are just not available as of this date. They come at the late of the month. Okay, before we start on next year's budget, which starts October 1st, we'd like to talk about the accomplishments we made this year. The council and the staff are very proud of that list right there, what we did in the last 10 months. It's a hard list to read, so we broke it up into little slides. But you can see there's a lot of projects and accomplishments we did in the last 10 months. So let's go over the CRA accomplishments first. We had tennis court renovations. The tennis court, believe it or not, is over 50 years old, and it's close to its useful life. And what's under that beautiful painting on the right is asphalt. So what happens after asphalt gets too old, you have to mill it and you have to repave it. So to reconstruct those two tennis courts would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So obviously we wanted to see if we can prolong the life of the existing tennis courts, and those are pictured on the left. When we looked at it, the fences were all rusted, so we painted all the fences, and we put the special paint that adheres to rust and to aged metal. And on the right, on the asphalt part, we put in a membrane where all cracks were at, and we put a special paint. Came out great. I think we got 5 or 10 more years of useful life. Got a lot of compliments. So we did all this in the $20,000 range. So very proud of doing this project at the cost we got it in on. And that's these are not taxpayer money. This is CRA money. All right. We also did, before I got here, the council and the staff worked on a great project, and they were successful in getting a grant for pickleball courts. It's kind of easy to get a FERDAP grant for the $50,000. Not everybody gets it, but to get the grant they got was $112,500. Is not easy. A lot of cities do not get that. They got that grant of $112,500. It's a 75% match for that, and then we supplemented the other money with the CRA money. So no tax dollars went into that. So this project it's beautiful. We have lighting. And we're going to look into putting lighting into the north part of the park and the parking lot next fiscal year. But as you can see, that's a picture of the lighting and the groundbreaking. And they're used every day. Yeah. All right, we couldn't just look at that beautiful pickleball court and see that basketball court that was right next to it. As you can see, there's big cracks on the left, and it's unsightly. So around $7,000, which I think is good money spent. CRA money, we prolonged the life of this basketball court, and I think it came out great. We used that membrane again to make it all flat and even, and the picture on the right is what it looks like today. So again, another good project that we did. This is where we're going to get into some details, the pros and cons of having a utility. The first project, as you can see, is Mar-a-Lago Case sewer lining project, a needed project because sewer lines, after a while, they do leak. Water, actually rainwater gets into them. It costs us more money because we have to service that water. So that was a much needed project. So as I said in the past councils and staff were really smart in creating 3 separate utilities, which they did, because this area in our utility is their AMI, which is the average median income, is lower than other parts of our service areas. So we were able to get a grant because of that reason. That is $1 million project that we got in at 75% paid by the federal government. So we got a community block grant of $750,000 out of that $1 million project. So that's good news, really good news. And that's why we're keeping the rates low, but we have to talk about raising rates because we can't keep them low forever and not raise rates on our water and sewer bills because we haven't done it in the last 10 years. Because on the next project, you'll see we're not as fortunate. We had put in a new water line on Lawrence Road. We had 2 phases of that project. One was for about $300,000. The next one was about $750,000. It's over $1 million. We did not get any funding for that. So that's the pros and cons of running a utility. Just to give you an example, we have, everyone thinks we don't have a large sewer system. We have 18 lift stations. People don't realize that because we go all the way down to Lantana. You only see the 2 on Forest Hill. have 18 of them. One of them is in for renovation in our budget this year at $300,000. There's no grant front money for that. Very hard to get grant money to renovate a lift station. So that's millions of dollars that we'll have to pay for new replacement. That is just part of owning this kind of business. Lead pipe, very fortunate on that. The federal government mandated every city, every government to make sure to identify lead pipe. So the good news on any residents in Lake Clark Shores, we've finished that area of Lake Clark Shores. We found no lead pipes. We had to go into your meter box. We looked at the line that went to the street. We looked at the line that actually went to your house, and we did not find any lead pipes in anywhere in the town. We're not finished because, you know, we have a large service area to the south, but this is approximately $150,000 project, totally paid by a grant. So successful, great job by staff and council. We got that paid totally by a grant. The next thing is, another thing we're proud of, is the water meters. We had faulty water meters, so we negotiated, Charlie helped us, we negotiated with the vendor, and we said these meters need to be changed. They're failing at a high rate. So it's a reputable company. They said, okay, we'll give you 1,500 to 2,000 meters after some negotiation. But we said, that's not good enough. You need to install them, because we're not going to install them. That's a lot of money to install those many meters. After we went round and around, they came to our thinking, and now they're installing all those meters, and they should be done by the end of the summer. So we're going to have new meters pretty much throughout our service area, and those meters last a long time. So that's a really good accomplishment we got for free. The Seminole Manor, this is what you approved last month. That sewer line is leaking and we need to replace it. We budgeted $350,000 for that project. We got it. You approved $242,000. I did sign that contract, and hopefully we got a permit outstanding right there, and we're going to get that hopefully done this summer. All right, so other projects we've done over the last 10 months. We did traffic calming. This is controversial because I'm going to say things people don't agree with, but on average, remember when I keep saying on average, we don't have a speeding problem. What they came up with are traffic calming devices that are implemented right now, together with the police enforcement, their great enforcement that they do, also their patrolling, that they're keeping speeding at a minimum. Is there outliers out there? Of course there are. Are there speeders out there? Yes. But when the traffic engineer looks at it, he looks at it on average, we do not have a speeding problem. So we have that study, and also the study looks into and gives us a procedure if there's more traffic devices needed, traffic calming devices needed, that gives us a procedures to follow. So that we implemented that study, and we're also looking at Keller Gate right now to see if we want to do anything on a permanent basis. In October, we'll look at that. We'll bring that back to the council. Vacation rental. When I got here, vacation rental was a big thing. Everybody's complaining about their neighbors having vacation rentals. The misunderstanding, because they thought this body can just say no vacation rentals in the town. We cannot do that. The state of Florida said we cannot exclude vacation rentals in our town. But we can incorporate some rules and regulations to try to keep them to be good businesses, because they're running a business in a residential area. So we implemented those, that process, that ordinance, and that fee and we've had much less complaints. I don't know if you've heard any, but we've got much less complaints. So I think it's been pretty much a great success. We looked at our building and our roof. There hasn't been any improvements to that since 07, around 15 years. So we painted every building, police building, town hall, all the bathrooms, all the parks. There's a big flat roof that's right above that side of the building right there. So obviously flat roofs, they need a special coatings to make them waterproof. So we implemented all that this year for less than $30,000. We did a great job on that. Security cameras, they were old, more than 10 years old, not functioning, breaking down. They're to the elements, they get corroded. We changed all the cameras out on this facility. half of forfeiture paid for half, basically, and we paid for the other half, general fund funds. And if you ever want to take a look at those cameras, they're really good. They're really clear. It came out great. We can see the park. We can see all the parking lot, and the cash register, the cashiers really came out good. Police department is very, very proud of their new flooring. Dana headed up that project, came out great. The paving and the boat ramp improvements we'll talk about later because that's on the agenda. We're proud of the Arabian Road improvement wall. We made them both match. We had an accident. Car actually went into one and almost took the whole thing down. And we had to make them look. We got a lot of compliments on that. There's a lot of things even not on this list. I mean, if you look at the 3 entrance signs on Forest Hill Boulevard, we just recently, last week, cleaned them up. We acid washed them. We painted all 3 of them. They look great. We're going to put some flowers in the annual. So those are some projects we've done in the last 10 months. Now, on the IT side, the state, I think, they passed a good law. What they did was they passed a law saying no government entity can pay ransomware. There's cities in this county, and there's more than a few that paid ransomware, and you're dealing with a criminal, and you're paying them money and hoping that they're going to give you your data back. So the state did a good thing and said that's ridiculous. Let's stop paying ransomware. They told us we're not allowed to do it. We have to call a number if that happens. But what you have to do is make sure you have sufficient backup and a backup system. So if somebody gets into your system, we can throw all those hard drives, all those servers away, and we can download a backup. So this stuff is protected, so I can't really talk about it in detail, but we have 3 different types of backups that are stored in different places. And also, to make it simple, when the IT people explain it to us, if this is the room of your server, if a bad person gets into it, you don't want to show, they can get into there because this is a good thing to tell you, it's ransomware or malware is going to happen. People think, oh, you just have to train your employees. It's going to happen because they fool you into clicking. As soon as you click on some kind of email, you got malware. And sometimes your malware protection or software cannot detect it. And so you got it. So when you get it, if this was the room where your data is stored, you don't want to tell them where your file cabinets is and where your data is. So you trick them into not showing them where your data is. So we did that, and we also have multiple backups. So we did that with our new IT people. We went to, as you know, we went to a contract where it's not hourly based. We were paying over $100 an hour for IT services. Now we paid the $3,000 a month. It saved us a lot of money, and I think we got better services. So we're very proud of that. That's all been implemented. The phone system, we're working on that. One part of it is on the agenda right now. It's to change from the third party to the county phone system. I had that in Juno Beach, worked out well. We had great service. They're right here, they're local. We already use their internet, and it's very protected. All of county internet goes to your fire department and all county facilities. So they've created a very good system of internet because they know how important it is in an emergency, in a hurricane or an emergency. So we actually hooked up to that many years ago, which was smart. So I'm doing the next step of getting rid of all of our phones and hooking up to the county phones. That will save about $6,000 or $7,000 a year, which is good. But also, I'm looking into, we have landlines, which we pay $3,000 a month. And I'm trying to get rid of most, if not all, of our landlines. And that will save tens of thousands of dollars. So that's the project that I'm going to be doing in the next few months. All right, we also started a social club, which is the Footprints. And that's a picture of one of our meetings. And very successful. We've had speakers there navigating Medicare, hurricane plans. This month we have somebody from the Palm Beach County Library System, which is excellent, by the way, so you should come to that. It's always on the third Wednesday of the month from 11 to 1. Next month, I think it's on fall prevention from Red Cross, right? So it's a great way to network with your neighbors and also learn a little bit. So everybody's invited to that. All right, so let's get into the budget. Let's talk about this year's budget. This year's budget right now, which is very rough, like I said, it's the first draft, is about $4.6 million in the general fund. It's 19% lower than last year, and that's mainly due because this year has the Pine Tree Bridge of 1.35 million in there. So if you take that 1.35 million out, actually the budget went up about $250,000 or 4%. So just want to show you apples with apples. And just that disclaimer on the bottom is just telling you we're trying to make our goals with our budgets, an estimate, and just giving you a little disclaimer. So good news is we balanced the budget with the same millage rate. And last year, I want to remind you, everyone, we adopted the same millage rate at this meeting, but we did lower it in September. So we're going to have that discussion in September to lower the millage rate. But we have $81,000, which is 4% basically. Every 1% is about $20,000 of a tax increase. So we have about 4% extra in our surplus fund right now. It's changing every day. We're getting more information every day, and it's already changed since that number. But just letting you know, we're in the positive right now. All right, so budget highlights. Again, we think it's prudent for us to recommend 6.1 mils, which is the same millage rate as last year. It represents a 10% increase over the rollback rate because the rollback rate is 5.5%, 5.5419. What the rollback rate is, this name that nobody really understands, but the rollback rate is the actual rate to achieve the same money you got last year. So if we want to receive the same monies we did last year, we'd adopt the rollback rate. Obviously, with everything going up, there's hardly any cities adopting the rollback rate because inflation is that high, which I'll go over. But that is, you have to tell the percentage over the rollback rate in the motion when we pass this in September. Let's go over what's in the budget on personnel. There's no staff recommended changing right at this moment. We're doing what we asked for last year, a 5% average merit increase. And I should say this to you all, in my contract, it's not in there. My contract is always steady 4%. So if I recommend 2% or I recommend 6%, my contract's steady. So just everybody should know that. My contract is steady for 5 years. So it's never, whatever I recommend, my contract doesn't change. Benefits, we've been very fortunate. Last year, everyone's talking about health insurance and everything increasing. Last year, our health insurance benefits actually went down in price. This year, it actually stayed the same because we had some increases and decreases between different coverages. So very proud to say for 2 years, we basically had no increases in benefits, which is amazing. All right, we've been very fortunate on that. So let me talk about that first item on there on operating, because that's a big one. Let's talk about the good stuff first. We're very unusual that the town pays for residential garbage collection. We actually pay it. Most cities, they put it in your tax bill or they charge you the $25 a month and they put it on your water bill. But we decided a long time ago, I don't know when, but it's been a long time, that we would pay for residential pickup, which is great. The town picks that up. That's the good news. What I want to caution everybody on is the staff and the council did a great job of getting a long-term contract because that was really prudent because it only has a 3% increase every year built in. That contract is up September of next year. So we'll be discussing this in the spring. What's your option? So you can start thinking of your options. We'll write you a memo, obviously. But the options are, we go out to bid. The marketplace is not the same. We pay about $18 a month. I don't know anyone that's paying $18 a month. It's roughly a lot higher than that. I don't even want to talk about numbers, but it's double-digit increases that I've seen. But we can talk about how do we facilitate. going to another contract. We can talk about, the options are, again, going out to bid. Second would be negotiating with the current carrier. The third would be to start our own department, which I'm not recommending. I'll tell you that right now. It's hard to get equipment. It's hard to get employees. It's a tough business. The last option obviously would be to contract with another city, like Lake Worth Beach. They actually pick up their own garbage. So some cities look at that and they can try to get a contract with another city. So we'll look at all those options and discuss those, but that's coming up in this. We should do it in the spring, so we'll be ready as of 10/1 for that contract to expire. Property insurance. I never want to talk about this. Last year I said it's pretty much in a crisis mode. I think we're very much in a crisis mode. Most people are on Citizens, and it's not, the state of Florida is not really doing well with property insurance. But last year we were close to what we projected. It was a double-digit increase. This year we're projecting a 20% increase. We'll get that next month, and we'll discuss that when we get the proposals in. All right, so let's talk about highlights for this year. The Pine Tree Bridge is on the agenda, but obviously if you approve that, that'll take a lot of our time next year. We'll be obviously engulfed in that project. You've already approved lighting for the community park. We're going out to bid with that hopefully this month and awarding the bid in September. The master plan is the same schedule, master planning for the 3 parks. We'll talk about when we get to the CRA budget. And we did get 3 applications out for grant applications, 1 on dredging and 2 on septic to sewer. What's not in the budget and things to discuss, it's not prudent for us to not raise water and sewer fees. Unfortunately, for the last 10 years, we haven't done that. And we did have a survey. It's called a water study, and we had one in 2000. And every municipality, every utility usually has them every 10 years, every 5 years to look at what the rates should be. We had that in 2000, 2021, and it recommended an 8, an 8, and a 6%, which we haven't done any increases. So we're 20% behind, and those numbers were pre-COVID. So just imagine how much capital replacement has gone up since COVID. So we're way behind the 8 ball here. So it would be prudent. I would never recommend a 20% increase as a resident and as a conservative taxpayer. I think that's just the wrong thing to do, but I think we need to start increasing. So I'm going to put this on the agenda next month, but I think we should start with a rate increase of like 5% or something that our residents can handle. And remember, if you have a $60 water bill, 5% is $3 a month. If you had an $80 bill, it's $4 a month. So it's not a large increase, but again, over the whole utility, we have 2,000 customers, only 700 in town. It's big money for us to just start raising money, and because all of our costs are going up, not only on our operating, but on our, as you can see, we can't just rely on grants. That's why I wanted to bring up how fortunate we were on grants. But if we don't get grant money, we'll use up all our reserves, our water and sewer fund. So what's the other outstanding items? This could be a long range plan. It doesn't have to be a short range plan, but even when I got here, I didn't like that we had a parks department and a road department, but we don't have a public works department. Every city really has one of the core departments is a public works department. That does, right now we could start as small as just renaming it, and then we can put people in it, years from now or next year or whatever. I just want to start talking about it, that we should be looking at our infrastructure, our roads, and we should have, even though we have people in charge like myself who's familiar with being a public works director, so we don't need to hire a director, but we need people. That sounds like, wow, you want to increase taxes or you want to increase fees. No, I want to be more efficient, because what we're doing right now is we're prioritizing. Prioritizing is going out to the public. We have a landscape contract. We have a parks inspection department. We have a janitorial contract. We have contracts on air conditioning. We have all these contracts where we can do some of them in-house. We call it in-house versus privatization. I'm not saying privatization is bad. Privatization is good, but sometimes it's better not to prioritize and to do it in-house. That's something that you have to feel out and you have to do. It's like motor pool. Do you have your own motor pool? Do you take care of your cars or do you bring it to Tire Kingdom? You know, that's prioritization to make it real simple. But our landscaping contract is over $100,000. We can hire 2 people with that and they could probably be done in 2 days. So that's just an example of privatization is not always the cheapest thing. And so we have to keep talking about that and starting the Public Works Department, taking care of our infrastructure for the long haul. The last thing, as you know, there's been a lot of discussion even when I got here about our retirement system. We don't have a defined benefit system or a pension system. A defined benefit, just to be real simple, is if somebody works for the town after 30 years, they get this much money a month. So you're defining the benefit, what you get when you retire. We have a defined contribution, which means you're defining the contribution you give to the employee every month, every paycheck. So every paycheck we give 9%, which is on the low side. To give you an example, a police officer, if they're in the Florida retirement system, our contribution would be 30% right now, compared to 9%. And a lot of cities are in the Florida retirement system, and every county, the 67 counties are in the Florida retirement system, and in every state organization it's required. So every state organization, every county organization is in the FRS. Cities is optional. I'm not saying to get in the FRS, it's very expensive. I did some little bit of calculations. Just the police department, it's over hundreds of thousands of dollars just in the police department, not counting the other employees. But we're deficient even on our contribution, on our defined contribution program. So bringing it up to 1% might be something you want to consider. 1%, it's like $13,000, $14,000 a year. So just something you to consider. Again, no decisions tonight, just talking about what we're thinking about. All right. What I always like to end on what we see in the economy. And again, I'm trying not to be political, trying to not do anything, but let's people like to hear what I think, what the economy is looking like. What we see is after the pandemic, what happened. A lot of checks were written to residents. That you see that part. They're called stimulus checks. But not only were they written to you all, they were written to governments, counties, states. We got ARPA fund. So there was a lot of stimulus thrown out into the economy. I'm not saying they did a mistake because they faced the Great Depression. That's what they were worried about. So we're not pointing fingers, we're saying what happened. So what happened was they threw all the stimulus out to the government, to the employees, to people and to government to try to stimulate to not going into a depression. They overheated the government, they overheated the economy. And then there was also that pent up demand. You were sitting in your house for 2 years, you wanted to go to the beach or go to travel. So there was pent up demand. What happened? High inflation. And what happens with inflation is you can't look at 1 year. The last 3 years, it's been 6, 9, now it's at 3.5%. So you have to add those all together. So groceries didn't go up 9% or 6% or 3%, they went up 20%. So wage inflation, we're not paying our employees that only 5% and 5% last year. It doesn't pay for that 20%. So that's why inflation is so damaging, because you actually lose money. And that's why the federal government, it's called the Federal Reserve, what they do to combat that, their best thing in their toolbox to combat that is they raise interest rates. And they did an unprecedented thing. Within a year and 3 months, they raised interest rates in 2022 to 2023 11 times, or 5.25%. What that does is, can you get a low mortgage now? No, mortgages more than doubled. A car loan used to be 1 or 2% or 0%. It's hard to get those now. The average car loan is over 6%. If you buy farm equipment, you buy anything online on credit, it's way more expensive. That is supposed to slow down the economy. It is working. It went from 9% to 3.5%, but we're not there yet. They first called it transitory because we were going through that transition. Now they're calling it sticky. So the inflation is sticky right now. It still doesn't want to go away. The Federal Reserve doesn't want to raise it too high or keep it up too long, so we go into recession. That's what they call a soft landing or a hard landing. A hard landing is when you go into a recession. They want to try to perform the difficult task of a soft landing. So they want to raise it, keep it high enough, and then lower it so we don't fall into recession. So that's what's happening right now with the economy, and we don't know where it's going to go. We might go into recession or we might be fine, because where I'm getting into the next slide, well, the bottom slide of that, it's today the economy is still really strong. It's doing really well. We still have low unemployment. It just trickled up a little bit. You know, the unemployment should be about 5%. We've been in the 3s forever. And now it just trickled up to 4.1% this month. So inflation's still a little high, but unemployment is still too low. And that's why the economy is strong, because of those factors. So what's happening on a state level? The state, we're doing much better. I even say much better than most other states, because a lot of people are moving into Florida. A lot of businesses are moving into Florida. We go to meetings and we can't believe how many corporate headquarters are moving to Palm Beach County. So our housing department, our housing is strong. Even with these headwinds, we're doing better than other states. As you can see, our values went up 10%, which is amazing. Palm Beach County went up a little less, but all strong economic numbers. So I always like to talk about the economy so you just get a little grasp of what we're thinking about. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions? And we want to thank everybody for, that was a thank you, but thanking the council and the residents and for your input on this budget, the first budget, which is already.
Come on up, Tim. I didn't know if one of these 3 items you had on here was regarding the budget or, well, one says spending, so I would imagine that's a budgetary thing.
What's that?
One of your items you want to talk
I'll bring it
about.
up now, but I was gonna bring it up later. I'm concerned about how we spend money. I am, okay? And the budget reflects that too, okay? We need to go back to a rollback rate. I've always been a supporter of that, and I have the last few years, especially with the increase in values in the houses in this community, okay? I've always think we should be going rollback, rollback, rollback. And nothing in this has changed my mind about that, okay? You were mentioning us spending stuff for Lawrence Road water main replacement and sewers down that way and everything else. I was in this council chamber many, many moons ago when Malcolm was up here. And we started taking money from the utility fund and moving it to the general fund. That money was supposed to be there for these repairs, okay? And now we're talking about, well, we're having to take it from here, and we're having to take it from there, and we're having to get grants and everything else. All that money should have been there, okay? Now, I will say this. We are not alone in taking money from our utilities like everybody else does it, okay? But it's not a prudent way to run a utility, because then you don't have the money to deal with the infrastructure that come up, okay? It's a problem, okay? Pine Tree Bridge, we're paying too much, okay? You know, we lost a grant from the state. That means we're going to have to come up with $250,000 more money, okay? That's not a small amount of money to us, okay? It is not a small amount of money. I've seen pictures you put on the artist renderings of the bridge. It's too fancy. We don't need to be spending that sort of money for something like that. And I only think that we have really one viable bid on the bridge. That does not give you enough of a range in the pricing to get the right price for replacing the bridge. You mentioned we haven't raised our water fees. I thought we had already done that a couple of years ago after a study was made that we needed it.
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. If I'm mistaken, I was mistaken. Dredging. We need to be engaged in conversations with both Palm Springs and Lake Lafitte with what they've done to our lake. Okay, we are testing surface water. We're not tasting what's in the bottom of the lake. And obviously, both those breakages caused problems with what's in the bottom of the lake. And we need to start discussions with them about them anteing up a significant sum of money for dredging. Okay, we have to do this. We have to move forward on that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Okay, and just high points on that. Roads, Pine Tree. Okay, which is one of the things I was going to talk about. Pine Tree is deteriorating. Okay, it continues by the day. I walk it all the time. The road is dropping in places. Okay, I'm not asking for y'all to repave the whole thing. The intersections have to be addressed. Okay, have to be addressed. And there are areas where it's significantly dropping, and all you gotta do is walk down that road and you can see it. You can see it. It's not just cracks. Okay, it's deteriorating. And even if we went forward with septic to sewer, which is not a given, okay, the earliest I would see septic to sewer come to my house, I'm in phase 5. The earliest I could even perceive us getting to my house in 2030, okay? That's 6 years away. Roads now versus a road in 6 years, we have to move forward with some sort of maintenance plan for the roads in our town that have not been addressed. Specifically, the intersections on Pine Tree. They are atrocious. They are bad. And the one at Beta Court is just, it's falling on a daily basis. And there are places the road is falling. Okay? It has to be addressed. It has to be addressed now, not later. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beta Court is in our proposal for paving, just so, it is, just, no, it's okay. We're going to get to that too.
Yes, sir. Please come up, Ashok.
Good evening. My name Ashok Kulkarni. Address 8131 Westlake Drive. First, I must say you did excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank
I
you.
got only 2 quick questions.
Sure.
I am on Palm Spring water supply, and you made reference to water meter change.
Yes,
In our case, is that going to happen, or Palm Spring is going to take care of it?
it's Palm Springs. It's their meter. It's not our meter.
Not you. Okay, that's number 1. Second thing, whenever I get this bill from the Florida Power Light, they make a reference to septic and sewer, and then they mention a reference to that if they have to make any changes, I should better start paying a little bit right now, so later on I don't have to pay more. This is the kind of letter I get it, you know.
Okay.
And I mentioned myself, number 1, I'm part of the septic from Palm Springs.
Mhm.
Still, sewer is not really in process, and they're asking that extra money because they're trying to tell that if I do right now, then I don't have to pay later on if there is any change, construction or anything. Are you aware of it?
No, can I ask you a favor? Can I have Emily or me take a picture of that and I'll call you?
Right.
Can I,
Make a copy.
and I'll call you tomorrow. I'll read it.
I
And
realized it because I was surprised. I said, I like to think about it,
Yeah.
but let me talk to you about this.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. So let me call. I have an update on FPNL.
Other people receive or not.
Okay.
It become part of what I did, you know?
Yeah, let me make a copy and I'll call you tomorrow.
Surely.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ashok.
Thank you, Asha.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you take it?
Both sides.
Thank you.
Are there any other audience comments? Okay. Do we have any emailed questions, ladies?
No.
Nope. No written questions? Okay, council comments. Christie, you're up.
Yes, Joe, thank you for a really thorough presentation and thank you for your, and your staff's attentiveness to fiscal responsibility. Y'all have really done a good job of getting great prices for us. And I agree with about the millage rate should, just for, until the budget is completed, should stay where it is, but it is my great hope that in September, we will be able to reduce that.
Mine too. And it happened last year. Everybody should know that. I didn't mention that. Last year, we went the same millage rate and we did lower it in September.
Thank you.
Good, good.
Thank you.
I echo her sentiments, and I just want to thank the staff for all of their hard work over the past year on behalf of all of us. And Joe, thank you for an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Doesn't leave me much to say. I did echo the same sentiments, and thank you for your presentation and budget itself. I know that we all don't want to see taxes increase, but knowing the process, we have to set it high and then we can lower it. Because once you set it low, you can't go lower. And, we want to start at the top and hopefully we can roll it back in September. So I know that sounds scary, but I pay taxes too, so I understand not wanting my taxes to go up. Thank you.
Mr. Maples, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, Tom, thank you for your hard work on the budget. I know it's not easy. I'm always a big proponent of surplus and putting money away in reserves to make sure we have something for the town for rainy day. Currently, we've got 1.4 million sitting in reserves, and I kind of echo the council. I would like to lower that rate, but at the same time, if it's an opportunity for us to be able to tuck a little bit more in our reserves for a rainy day, that is definitely something that's important to me, just being good stewards of what we have and put a little money there. So we'll see what happens in September, but I am really, always looking for ways to save money and put money away so that when we need it, we have it for opportunities that come in front of the town. If we needed some cash, we have it available to us, or if the hurricane comes and they're back to back, we've got some cash, we can do some things. So that's really important. But again, thank you for your hard work and looking forward to seeing what we come up with in September.
Thank you.
Okay, Joe, we covered everything. We met, we talked. I agree with you. There's a lot of deferred maintenance in the town of Lake Clark Shores. So it's a juggling act here, things that need addressing. There's a lot more that's on this list. So this is a guideline. This is something for us all to look over through the course of a month and 2 weeks and figure out where we want to go, talk to people, see what's on their minds, and we can go from there. So it's a nice guideline. Job well done by everybody. I know it's a lot of hard work, and
Thank you.
where you got to, give and get is not always easy.
No.
So, because I could tell you 10 things off the top of my head that are deferred maintenance here in the Lake Clark Shores area. So,
Yes.
but we'll move on and we'll stay positive.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion on that rate right at the moment?
No.
No?
No.
So we need no motions at this time except for to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Come on up.
Hi, Joseph Shear. The one thing I wanted to say on your proposal for the benefits for the police officer and the county, not the county, for the town, I think that's very positive to push that for the police force and for our town workers. They essentially take care of us. And the fact that we're so low, I think we should incentivize our safety. So I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation, and something I think we should consider, because it's our safety and we want to incentivize people. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
for your
you.
support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
So
I'm
moved.
sorry, who made the motion?
I make a
John,
motion.
John,
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to the
agenda 2.
agenda item 2. Yeah. A lot of stuff on the table tonight.
CRA.
This is the Lake Clark Shores Community Redevelopment Agency, meeting July 9, 2024. Roll call, please.
Chairman Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Vice Chairman John Maples,
Here.
Commissioner Bridget Keating,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor Materio, I'm sorry.
Here.
Commissioner Christie Mossbach.
Okay, do we have any audience comments regarding the CRA? None at this time. Any emailed questions regarding the CRA? No?
No.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
So moved, and we're carries 5-0, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Approval of consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the May 14th, 2024 Community Redevelopment Agency.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries, okay. Presentation. We have the proposed budget for 2024, 2025 fiscal year. Mr. LaBella?
Thank you. I always like to remind myself, we're not council members right now. You're not council members, and I'm not the town manager. I'm the executive director, and you guys are the
You hold the keys to the kingdom?
commissioners of the CRA. So just think in that way. So this is a CRA meeting. The budget, it's probably easier to, if you have the packet on page 28, to follow that, because I'd like to go over that real briefly, the detail pages. And I wanted to put it on the screen, but it just doesn't show well. It's just too small. But on page 28, it's in the back. It's just really interesting to look at the numbers on page 28. On that top box, we started the CRA. Everybody there? Okay. We started the CRA in 2016, and the base year, we call it, the base year was about 25 million, rounding up. As you can see, after 6-7 years, it only went up to $31 million. You see that? In 2022 to 2016, it only went up like $6.5 million. This last year, and that's 7 years, $6.5 million. I can't say that more than that. This last year, it went up 17.9 million in 1 year. So it's growing exponentially. So it's already been a success, but obviously I'm not happy. I'm still not satisfied. But just letting you to see the 22, it went up 6 million. 23, it went up 10 million. 24, it went up 14 million. And now we're at 17.9 million in 1 year. And in 6 or 7 years, it only went up $6 million. It's just amazing. So I just want to point that out, how it's already been a success. We are having some development there, not quick enough. We still got to strive for quality growth. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm talking to the stakeholders. I'm talking to the property owners. We need some quality land this close to the airport, this close to downtown is very valuable. We want quality growth to enhance our quality of life. So we don't want just pick anything, but we want quality growth, but we want something that would enhance our quality of lives. So that's what I'm striving for on that corridor, Forest Hill Boulevard. I go to the Business Development Board meetings. You can't believe the demand for small to mid-sized corporate headquarters that would be perfect on one of those sites. So there's a lot of things going on. Housing is obviously hot right now, but housing is sometimes not desirable because housing, there's negatives. What's wrong with housing? Sometimes there's a lot of trips, which is traffic and intensity. So, but we got to think quality growth, and we're still talking to residents and stakeholders of those properties, because combining some of those properties make the properties even more valuable. And that's what I'm showcasing to them. Don't think small, think bigger, but think quality. So that's my little spiel, how we're on a macro level. Now on a micro level, you can see the town contributes $105,000 to this CRA, and the county contributes $71,000. We actually have a clause in the CRA after $15 million of value, which we just surpassed that this year, the county reduces anything over $15 million by 25%. So, and the next $15 million after that, they reduce it another 25% to 50%. So we made our goals really quick, but we're still getting $71,000 free money from the county to invest in our town, not only in our parks, but also we can do a lot different things in a CRA that we can't do in a town. We can be a developer. We can buy property. We can take loans. We can do a lot of things to think out of the box to achieve quality growth. So I just wanted to keep us thinking like that. We have money now because obviously we have some growth. Last year we had our fund balance was about $157,000. Not a lot of money, but it's money. And this year, as you can see, when you add those two together, we're making $179,000. We put in some numbers for expenditures. We put in the master planning, which we're talking about. We talked about that project. That's that last thing, the $65,000 transferred to the general fund for the lighting and community park. It's a great thing that we put all the parks in the CRA. So I think that parks definitely develop quality of life. So enhancing parks enhances quality of life for all of us. So the thing that's tough is people don't understand CRAs cannot be used for like maintenance items. So you can't like trim the trees on the corridor there on Forest Hill Boulevard. You can't use it for landscaping on a minute. You have to, it's like brick and mortar. You have to have some capital improvement, like refurbishing or building that pickleball court. That was a structure, right? So you can't just paint a building. You can't do landscaping. You have to have structural things, but you can pay for consultants because a master plan is planning for the future, and we will have projects probably from that master plan on what we're going to do with those three parks. So that's it in a nutshell. These numbers are changing. They've changed already, but we have some incentives for employees and I'm sorry, for business owners to come and see me if they want to do some incentives programs. We just did one a couple months ago. So if anyone has any questions, this is just the first draft.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Thank you.
I think you may have just answered it, actually. I would love to see shade trees on Forest Hill between the parks and Florida Mango.
Right.
And that is not something, like some big, big, nice. We have a few scrawny palm trees, but it would be nice to get some shade trees.
It's not a yes or no question. If you put in one tree, no, of course not. But if you do a whole master plan, maybe it can be done.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, it involves the DOT.
Right. Well, besides the DOT, which you can't put anything on a DOT road, but I was just talking about putting a tree in. The DOT has a lot of restrictions on curbing and how far it has to be from the travel lanes, and it's even got more restrictive so putting up shade trees, it's a big no-no, because when you hit a shade tree, what happens? You're in trouble. You hit a big object. They like those little skinny Alexander palms or those that you see them putting up everywhere, because those things break away. They give. Live oaks don't give. You give.
We inherited that through the DOT, and part of the language, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, was that we were required to maintain it.
Yes.
And if anything was needed and replaced, it had to be replaced with an equivalent.
Yes.
Yes.
Palm trees don't do well there, period. They're not going to do well. However, the large trees are going to have root systems. It's going to interfere with their roadway. They probably won't approve that. But I do agree the trees are nice, but we are limited on what we can do there.
You couldn't put those medullas or any of those beautiful trees that you have there. They wouldn't even approve them now.
No, not only that, you have to make sure that then the town can maintain. Because that's my beef, is that, yes, I'm a landscape guy. Just take a ride by and look, and I love the landscape. It's great, but it's got to be maintained as well. So that has to be part of the picture too. So
I think a very good start is the master planning. Let's hire a landscape architect. We're going to talk about that the next item, but I think that's a really good start of us starting to plan for the town. Those three parks are very important.
okay, so let's move on to the status update, which is a request for qualifications for planning consulting services for Memorial Park, Pine Tree Park, and North Park Master Plan. Mr. Lobello.
Yes, I just wanted to give you an update, and we have an option for you. we're going out to bid. Charlie's reviewing our RFQ, which is request for qualifications, so you don't actually get pricing. But we look at their qualifications for a landscape architect to look at those 3 parks, Pine Tree Park, Memorial Park, and North Park, which is on the north side. It's a very skinny park. It was 28 pages long. You guys want to see it, I can email it to you. But what we're looking at is going out to bid, having the bids back to us in August, and then having an evaluation on August 9th. So here's the option I wanted to bring to you all and see what you want to do. How I look at RFQs, if they're very technical, councils usually shouldn't be involved in that because their technical staff knows better sometimes on the technical things. But again, that's subjective. Actually, engineering firms actually challenge that when you have the councils look at an RFQ instead of having professionals review that. But anyway, but when it's subjective, when it's an RFQ, when it's landscape architects, they look, it's not only their past experience and their qualifications, you look at their vision. So they might do a presentation in front of you all, their vision, one firm you might like better, or, you know, another person might like that vision better. So for you guys to talk about it. So actually I'm giving you the option of you all to be the evaluation committee. What that means is instead of us meeting in public and having a discussion on the RFQ and giving a rating and making a recommendation to the council, is you all do it. So we'll schedule them on the September 9th meeting. It'll be a long meeting, but hopefully 4 or 5 firms, whatever, come in. They do a 15 or 20-minute presentation. You have a form, an evaluation form. You made it really simple, 25% on 4 different items, right, Emily? I think yes. That's the evaluation committee criteria. We give you an evaluation form. You put numbers on it. We discuss it, and then you make it. You guys decide on who to pick because it's subjective more than technical. So we're happy to do it. We do this for a living. We'll do it. We'll set up a committee, but I'm just giving you the option. Would you like to spend an hour and a half doing it, and you all pick the landscape architect? So leaving it to you all to discuss.
Okay. That'll come to us before the.
No, we have to make a decision now.
Yeah, we discussed
Oh, okay.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd love to have them come in front of us and present to us. Anybody have any other opinions on it?
I like the way that you describe it, Joe. I think it's always good for us to have a conversation about the overall vision. And in this case, I think it's appropriate.
I'm good with evaluating. I know it's gonna be a long meeting, but I think I echo her sentiments that we all have different visions, and in seeing that perspective, because it's more vision than it is technical. If there's a technical component about it, I think that would be a good idea to come to the board.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is the only time that us as council get a chance to speak and hear each other's thoughts. So it'd be great to have them come before us and let us kind of hash it out and give our vision and perspective on whatever is brought before us. So I agree with you. I think it's a good idea.
Chrissy,
I'm fine with it.
you good? So there's a best management practice concept to keep in mind as you drive by and you look at this and we prepare for this. Right plant, right place. That's one of my things. Architects draw pretty pictures. They make it look nice. It's fantastic. But we all want to consider the right plant for the right place. Because like I said, there's nothing worse than even being in another community and you drive by and they do all of this beautification and then it goes south.
I concur.
And I've seen
just
reputable
money
landscape
down the
architects do it.
Yes.
Joe
Yeah,
and
it looks
I-
pretty.
Joe and I have done many
Mm.
drive arounds on the golf cart, and there's some trees that need to go, and there's some trees that need to be added, and there's trees that need to be trimmed, and some need low maintenance and high maintenance. So I totally agree that about the planting, you have the right plant for the right place.
Okay.
I'm with you.
There you have it.
Thank you for the consensus.
Okay. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Mossbach?
Thank you. No, I'm just looking forward to our next meeting to meet the individuals.
I have no
Alright.
additional comments.
You good? Bridget?
No, I'm good.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to quickly give a little bit of background on the CRA also. The county did not want to give us the CRA. It's free money. They don't want to give municipalities free money.
No.
Look at the obstacles they put in our way now.
No, they don't like
And the options
CRAs.
that they
No.
give us.
Mhm.
But a lot of diligent work was done on previous council members, on previous administrators, things of that nature. So we fought hard to get to CRA. It's prime land out there. It really is. When you look at the traffic that moves through. But then I go back and I look at some of my notes I have in, do you know where the Dunkin' Donuts is? We tried to get a Starbucks there. They wouldn't even talk to us.
Oh.
And that store, that guy that owns that store, he's an accountant, by the way,
Of course.
from the Boston area.
Smart man.
Has like 9 or 10 stores throughout Palm Beach County. That's his number one performing store.
Yeah, well, that's
So they
thanks to
would-
my daughter.
Yeah. They wouldn't. So
And Mary.
if we think about what we can do with the space that we have and the upgrade that's possible, it's endless. And it's, you know, it's fun to sit there and think and see what we can do and what we can put in there. And as you talk to your neighbors and the residents and see what they would like, see the different things that could be done with in the bank area and in that plaza itself and then across the street. I just recently got an email and a text message regarding some of the code stuff going on over there. And unfortunately, that's where, Chief, you can verify this, is a lot of our calls go to the north side in the rental areas. Is that a lot of our calls go in there for police?
In the rentals, we get a lot of neighbor issues, domestic violence, and that
Okay.
type of calls disturbances.
Okay, so there's just so many options available to us.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Commissioner, the empty lot at the end of the street, what's the plan for that?
The town.
On Forest
owns-
Hill, the one the town owns.
Yeah, the town, that, believe it or not, is not in the CRA. And it's, you know, I have a vision for that, but it's it's what your vision is, obviously, because you're the policymakers. But we don't have anything. We discussed in the past, I believe, trying to expand that in the park, trying to fill in the little waterway that was not allowed by South Water Management. I don't know if you remember that discussion. So that Dan updated me on that. So there's very minimal things you can do with it. They changed the zoning, I believe, to commercial. Or is that still hanging out there? Or there was some discussion, was it changed?
Discussion, but I don't know that it changed.
Or
I
was
think it's still residential.
it's still residential, or the future land map was changed? I don't know. We'd have to research that, but it's
zoned at this point?
we'd have to check. But there was a lot of discussion on making it residential because that's probably most viable for that location because it faces Forestville Boulevard. But we've had interest from a local
Businessman.
firm or businessman, thank you, to buying that and putting something there, but it hasn't gone to the level of coming to you yet.
Putting a commercial business there.
Yes.
It has some challenges from the fire department perspective with that property to be commercial. So
You know, you need an engine to get in there and make a tea and go get out there. And that's always a challenge of getting that permit, but there is a way to do it. So
since we're talking in the sunshine, I want to add to the council that it's not just this council, but it's future councils that will come that need to really think long and hard about the finances of the town of Lake Clark Shores, because we only through annexing, which in my opinion will never be an easy fix. We're working on some other things. We worked hard for a long time on it. We were denied, not that we're giving up, but when it comes to the money, there's going to be things that will change at the state level that are going to affect every resident in the town of Lake Clark Shores. And it's going to be a financial thing. And we can only set our cap for a millage rate at a certain amount. So that, through your thought process, should be a consideration on where we go. This is why the CRA is so important to us, because we could really help the residents by allowing the businesses to do the heavy lifting, which is what we did with the sewer installment along Forest Hill Boulevard before any of that was possible. Before that, I don't know if you all knew this, but that used to be a photo lab. Yeah, so you couldn't have restaurants without sewer, you couldn't have any of these things that we want to see come in here. So that was taken care of by all of the businesses. They paid for that lock, stock and barrel, and it didn't cost a resident a penny. And we got all of that. So that's all that CRA area in there is just so valuable to us that we really got to work hard and make our contacts. And when you're out there working, keep that in mind.
Well, thank you and the previous council people that brought this to us, because I know it was a hard fight, and hopefully we can preserve it and grow it to what it's meant to be. Back to that lot land. I know there was some issue with Lake Worth management.
Should we be discussing that because it's not in the CRA?
Really not part of the CRA.
So we shouldn't be discussing it because it's not part of the CRA. I should have said that first.
I do have a question about the CRA. I thought we had a master plan already for the CRA for Forest Hill Boulevard. As I recall, I thought there was something.
There was some money spent on some design.
Plan of design or something like that.
Remember we had that chicken or the egg discussion?
Right.
That's, I don't like planning things out like that because it's the chicken versus the egg. And all of that was done pre-COVID. It's probably all not even worth the paper on it.
Right.
So that's the chicken and the egg discussion.
So are we feeling that this master plan for the park should be a little different?
Master plan for parks is, yes, you can definitely plan out a park for the next 50 years, in my opinion.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, and Charlie's agreeing with us. The last comment before we close on the CRA, because I haven't said this, but I'm going to say it publicly. The best day of a CRA is when we dissolve the CRA. And not because it's not a success, because it is a success.
There's nothing left.
There's nothing left. So the day we dissolve the CRA is when we were totally successful. So think of that. That means when we can transfer that money back to the general fund to support our budget when it's done its job of enhancing that quality of life and the quality growth there. So just want to make sure you hear that, in my opinion.
Okay, is there anything, anybody have anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Town of Lake Clark Shores Town Council meeting for July 9th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Vice Mayor John Maples,
Here.
President Pro Tem Bridget Keating,
Present.
Councilmember Taylor Materio,
Here.
Councilmember Christie Massbach.
Here.
Good, very good. Do we have any audience comments? Tim, come on up.
Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. We talked about the Pine Tree Road and the paving, and I'll keep saying that, keep saying that, keep saying that. The intersections, the problems where it's dropping, we have to address. Keller Road. It was ugly this morning. It was really ugly. And it really concerns me when I have a neighbor that is walking her 1-year-old son. And what we had to deal with this morning on that road, okay? We need a 3-way stop sign at South Lake, Keller, and the bridge, okay? It just needs to be there. It just needs to be there, and we can't wait 6 months. There needs to be speed control on South Lake. I will bring this up every time I'm in here, okay? Spending, and I mentioned it in the meeting about the budget. A number of our residents are concerned about what we're spending for vehicles in this town, okay? When I see the amount of new vehicles going around this town that town staff is using, it disappoints me because I know how much it takes to run a vehicle on a road. Okay, I spent a lot of time on the road. I spent a lot of mileage on the road. I know what it costs. Okay, only way to get your money out of a vehicle is run it into the ground. It's the only way you get your money out of a vehicle. Continually upgrading on a 2-year basis, I think, is not an appropriate use of our money. Okay? We have to spend money efficient. We're going to have infrastructure issues. We continue to have infrastructure issues. We need to pull back on things. And that goes to the bridge, which we're going to talk about awarding the contract today. We lost a $250,000 grant that was vetoed by the governor. That's another $250,000 out of our pocket, okay? And I've seen the design of the bridge. It's too fancy for us. We don't need luxuries. We need basic stuff that serves the needs of the residents. Okay. And the last one, this is the toughie. Okay. I continue to have issues with town staff and how I'm treated by town staff. Okay, and I'm not going to mention names, but if it gets worse, and it has gotten worse over the years, I will mention times, dates, and individuals, okay? We need to show more respect for our residents, okay? We need to show a level of professionalism. We should need to show a level of respect. And when someone doesn't do that, they should apologize to that resident. And I'll tell you, it hasn't happened to me once. It hasn't happened to me twice. It hasn't happened to me 3 times. It's happened to me numerous times. And it's been ongoing year after year after year. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And I would ask Joe, and I would ask this town council to address this issue, okay, with town employees, okay? We need to show respect and professionalism towards each and every one of our residents, even when they're in the wrong, okay? Yes, sir, no, sir, I'm sorry we didn't meet your standards, okay? Apologize if you stepped across the line, okay? That's all I ask, okay? This town is not anywhere near what it was when I first drove through here in 2004, early in 2004, decided to make this my home, okay? I fell in love with this town, okay? That has been tarnished a bit over the years, okay? And it's been changing, and any municipality grows and gets older and everything else. And as we change employees, yeah, I understand that, okay? I really do understand that. But it has been tarnished, and previous council members have mentioned this to be the jewel of Palm Beach County, okay? And I'll be one to say that jewel has been tarnished, okay? And we need to do better. We need to do better by our residents. That's what I'm saying. Because our residents pay the salaries of the people who work for this town. They are our employees, and they need to understand that. They really do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments? No? Any
Yes.
emailed?
Yes, there's some online. There's Morty Meltz. He is saying, I know the police department is overwhelmed with the railroad construction. Are there any additional resources that can be provided to the town to slow the traffic down on Pine Tree during construction? Can it be recommended to whomever is in charge of the forest sill construction barriers to be moved to Florida Mango and local traffic only permitted so the traffic doesn't run through our streets?
Chief, that's a question for you, sir.
Well, staff was involved in dealing with the DOT and other entities that we have no control. But I will tell you, they had traffic engineers involved in this. By the time you would change anything, it should be over with by Saturday. So you're going to have some inconveniences. And I was down there and I was amazed that the people didn't read the signs, because really the town, I thought, went far beyond what we really needed to do, but we notified everybody besides knocking on the doors. But I didn't see an issue. this morning because people were doing the U-turn and getting back to Congress. Now, I haven't had anybody complain except Tim gets up and he complains about the traffic. So I'll direct the officers to do some enforcement on that area tomorrow to make sure. But usually when the traffic backs up, you can't really speed. It's just an inconvenience of people driving, as you know. But I will address it and we'll
And they're using state troopers because it's obviously a state project. And Morty's comments, I'll send it to I have a representative with the FDOT, which is Department of Transportation. I'll forward that comment.
I was out at 9 this morning when the traffic was horrible. And it seemed logical to me that and maybe there was, but there should be a sign on the west side of Forest, on west of Florida Mango that says road closed, local traffic only.
Yeah.
So because they've got the traffic narrowed from 3 lanes to 1, and then all those that one lane is making a U-turn to go back west.
I will forward
And
that comment.
it's a total waste of people's time. The traffic was backed up way past Florida Mango.
I will forward those comments. Obviously, if we did it, we would maybe do things differently. But remember, if we get involved, and Charlie, please back me up, if we get involved, we would be liable possibly if there's an accident. So this is their project. They designed the MOT, which is the maintenance traffic. We're just facilitating the message, getting it out to everybody what's happening. But we're not going to try to change anything or do anything, because if something happens, and accidents do happen when there's in a construction zone, it's very common. Right, Chief? Both chiefs.
Dana did mention we did have 2 officers in that area.
But there's officers out there, they're state troopers, but I do have a lady that I can call who's representing FDOT, who works for FDOT. So I'll forward Morty's and your comment to, her name's Maria, yes.
We were involved in the discussions, but it's a courtesy. It was a courtesy for us to be involved.
Right.
So we had the plans, and we actually, we made some suggestions, and I think they followed it. But it's hard to cover everything.
What's the difficulty in getting the local traffic only type signs out there at this point? I mean, we're only day 1 here, and we're going to Saturday. And I wasn't home all day, but my husband.
One of those
was home.
electronic signs, yeah.
My husband was home, and he said during the day, it got pretty
Pine Tree
heavy.
was a main road.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of
It got
traffic.
pretty heavy
Where
traffic.
where would you put that, please?
An electronic sign on Forest Hill, west of Florida Mango, so people could turn.
We can only suggest that. We can't go on the state road.
Right.
So we could do it on a city road or a town road, but we can't put anything on their state road.
They could also put some local sign right at Pine Tree, because people are making that, because if traffic gets backed up and then they're making the right turn. But that would be more effective, because they don't need to be between Florida Mango and Pine Tree. They're not going anywhere. They have to make the U-turn right at Pine Tree, and that I don't know.
We did
See,
this.
they didn't have a town manager as efficient as you putting out emails to everybody to let them know.
And I saw a vehicle there, I guess, controlling the light, but I had to wait your turn to get out. But as I noticed, that traffic just kept getting longer, the lengthier and lengthier, because there's nowhere to go.
Well, that one issue was we have a lot of medical offices, and they wanted to make sure people would have access to the medical offices, the dentist and attorney offices.
They are dealing with a lot of variables, but we'll forward those comments, and please be patient. It's not easy. This week will not be easy. So please be patient for this next week.
Yeah.
We'll try.
Just a foreshadowing of the Pine Tree Bridge.
Yes.
Yes.
Next question.
No,
that was it?
no other questions.
Okay, no written questions or comments or anything of that nature? Okay, good. We need approval of agenda. Motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion for consent?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay, we have no presentation.
No, we do, right?
Nope, says none.
Oh, no presentation, public hearing. I'm sorry. You're quicker than me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so we are going to go to the public hearing portion. Imposing a non-ad valorem special assessment for nuisance abatement involving a property located at 7730 Westlake Drive, Lake Clark Shores, Florida, 33406. Mr. LaBelle.
Yeah, we've done this for the last several years. We actually mow that grass there, and we put $900 charge on their taxes, and they've been paying their taxes. So it's a nuisance. We can't get them to mow their lawn. So this is just something, it's not unheard practice to put a special assessment on their tax bill. They have been paying their taxes, so we get reimbursed for the services we provide to that house for lot clearing. Before we put it on their tax bill, this has to be a public hearing. It's required. We have to take audience comments. So again, we've been doing this for several years, but it's the same $900.
And this is recoupment of costs for the mowing. It does not include any fine or penalty.
That is correct. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any audience comments regarding this? No? Any email questions regarding the nuisance abatement?
No.
No? Okay, council comments. Christie?
I can come do my lawn for 9.
That 900 a month?
No,
will
a
be
year,
done
a year,
for your
a
liking.
year.
That's cheaper.
It's,
I was gonna second that.
There's-
It was 900 a
there's,
month.
there's no edging, no trimming, just mowing.
Just-
No hedge trimming.
I think, yeah, no comment.
Taylor, you good? You okay?
I'm great.
Christie?
No comment.
No?
Thank you.
No? Okay.
Okay,
Do
Mary.
do we know the status of the liens on that property?
I don't off the top of my
No.
head, but we can certainly find out.
Well, yeah, I have a pretty good idea because this has been going on for a while and the roof is a problem. And I recently have been contacted, which I told the individuals they need to come to council, not just to me. And it's one of those things that they need to talk to all of us, not just one of us, because you can imagine what the next portion was going to be. So, all right.
We
We'll
need to
move on.
adjourn the public hearing.
Okay, let's adjourn. A motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Wait.
Yep,
We're adjourning the,
The public hearing.
just the
portion.
public hearing.
oh, okay.
We still have more to go on the agenda.
Okay.
You good?
Oh,
Second,
good, thank you.
I'll second that.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Let's move to unfinished business. Approval of resolution 2024-15 imposing a non-ad valorem special assessment for nuisance abatement involving the property located at 7730 West Lake Drive, Lake Clark Shores, Florida.
This is exactly what we just discussed. It's approving the resolution.
I'll make a motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay, the next unfinished business, awarding contract to replace the Pine Tree Lane Bridge.
Thank you. If I may just give a little history, this is not an easy one because it is a very big project. We went out to bid on this project to replace Pine Tree Bridge because we got obviously a rating of financial, it's functionally obsolete. So which means we had professionals here a couple months ago talking about these ratings, and we also had a structural rating. It's called a sufficiency rating. Close 66, 60 is not, this falls below structurally sound or whatever the engineers like to call this. That's why we had professionals come in 2 months ago and we discussed this. We went out to bid on this last year, and that was with the road being open and having a travel lane open at all the time and having pedestrians there. I believed it was not contractor friendly. I told the council that. I never even brought the one bid that came for $3.2 million. I told the council, I asked their permission to let me redo the MOT on the project, which is the maintenance of traffic again, and to close that bridge permanently during construction. What that does is it obviously helps the contractor. He does not have to deal with pedestrians or traffic, one lane being open, one lane being closed. It also speeds the process up, speeds the project up. So I thought it would be beneficial to do that. I thought it was successful because it got the project down from the one bid. Tim's right. We only got one bid on that. From that one bid of 3.2 million, we got 2 bids in, and the low bid on that one that I did bring to council was at $2.4 million. So about 650,000. So about $700,000. By making that one change and rebidding it, we saved about $700,000. So we brought this up, obviously in April, and the council unanimously approved it contingent on two things. One, getting an artistic rendering, which we did. And the second thing was contingent on the governor not vetoing this portion that's in the budget. Unfortunately, we found out the day he did it, on June 12th, the governor did veto that, unfortunately did veto the $250,000. He vetoed a lot of projects, and unfortunate we were in there. So staff looked at how do we make up that shortfall. So we looked at it again, and I came up with the idea of it has utility improvements, it has park improvements. So I believe, and obviously Charlie's going to have to bless this, but I believe we could use funding from those sources. We looked at the bid, and to change that water line that goes under the bridge, which it is included in this project, was we took those numbers out because it's a detailed bid. It was $279,000. So that right there pays for the shortfall. Also, there was some park improvements, not much, but we had $91,000 of park improvements, which the CRA can pay for, because anything that's improvements for the CRA, again, if it's not maintenance, can be paid for by the CRA. We also have a number that's not correct in here. It keeps changing. It's hard to get that number right, but it says $873,000 is what we had from a loan. That number was just our best guess at the time, but it's actually less because it makes daily interest, and it makes interest, which makes about $40,000 a year. We're doing really good on that investment that we put it in, but it also minuses out any engineering fees, and every time we have an engineer, we talk to him, we take it out of that money. So it actually is, that number is probably a little high. So just wanted to make sure that you knew that that is not a solid number, and it will change if you do vote on this and I bring a budget adjustment. So nothing has changed for staff besides the $250,000. It's a lot of money. We agree with the comments made tonight. And it will take out a large portion of our reserves, about 700,000 maybe of the 1.4 million. But are we just kicking the can? That's the question you guys got to answer yourself. Are you just kicking the can and we're going to not get a grant in the future? Because if we don't use this money, we have a grant right now of $600,000 from the state.
That was an appropriation.
It's an appropriation.
A grant and appropriation.
It's two different things. I don't know why I said grant. Okay. So that is wrong. It was appropriation. The council at that time, this was in 2022, I was not here. They did an excellent job of going up to the legislature, getting that in the budget. It was approved. It wasn't vetoed. So right now, if we do not use it by June of 2025, Mr. Maples asked me, John asked me to look that up. I did. That if we don't use it by June of 2025, we will lose that appropriation. It's not a grant. That's correct. So that's it in a nutshell. If you don't do it, will the prices go down? I can't tell you if the price is going up or going down. I can tell you the last 10 years, everything's gone up. I can't tell you if we're going to hit a major recession and prices will go down and concrete will be more available. I can't forecast the future. All I could tell you is this bridge is 70-something years old and it needs to be replaced at some time. So are we going to forgo that $600,000?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Just for edification of the entire council, explain to us, or maybe Charlie, this is for you, when the Department of Transportation comes in and deems the bridge obsolete, that puts us in a certain position as well. We can't ignore that. Is that correct?
You could ignore it, but I would not recommend that you ignore it. There are two major reasons for liability on roads and bridges. The first is design and the second is maintenance. And we don't have a design issue. We really don't have a maintenance issue at this point, but we've been put on notice that the bridge needs repair. If we ignore that, that raises the potential for liability for maintenance.
Gotcha. Okay.
Emily, could we ask Emily to pull up the picture again? I wasn't able to open up the email that you sent me today.
Sure. Emily, you want me to send it to you?
It's the drawing?
Yes.
The rendering.
Yeah, not the picture of my bust. There's the picture of the bridge, not my headshot,
Um,
and not the mayor either. There it is. Thank you, Emily.
Okay. I have a strong opinion about that because that picture doesn't look that bad. But today in conversations with Joe, I learned that it's the same bridge that's the same design as what is on Forest Hill, the new bridge on Forest Hill at Gregory. I'm sorry, on Florida Mango
Florida
at
Mango.
Gregory.
Yes.
And that bridge is hideous. The design is just hideous. I firmly believe that we should move forward in course. And I don't want to lose the $600,000, but we've got time to get this right. And I think we've only had this picture for a short period of time. And we've got a beautiful community. This is an entrance to one of the two main roads, and it is a much less attractive bridge than the simple bridge that we have now. And I just don't think it's a great entrance to one of our two main roads.
So would a redesign increase the costs?
Yeah. We can, you want me to tell you options?
Put the options out on the table.
I mean, obviously we can, the problem with asking the contractor for options, it's very slow because you're not dealing with just the contractor, you're dealing with the state because the state has to approve everything because of their $600,000. That's part of their appropriation request. So let's say we wanted to put holes in that solid concrete. I think that's what she's talking about, right, Christy? That
Yeah, like the current bridge has a pillar and then
right. There's no pillars.
and a hole and then a pillar and then a hole. And if I would invite everybody on the council to drive past the new bridge and take a look at it. It's very industrial. It looks like something that goes over a culvert in Loxahatchee. It doesn't look like a.
And let's make sure we understand the bridge and the roadway, I don't believe is your concern.
It's the walls,
concrete barriers on either side.
The walls.
Because I don't think you need to redesign the bridge or the roadway. It's just that barrier on the sides.
And so the option would be, we would talk to the structural engineer that was here the other day and talk to the contractor to see what our options are to change that to more aesthetically pleasing wall, railway, whatever we call it.
Is that a safety issue, that design, or no?
Not that I'm aware of. I think it can be designed safely a number of ways. I just wanted to make sure the record was clear. The bridge itself is not the issue. It's those concrete
You're correct,
barriers.
Charlie. Yes, thank you for clarifying.
So you can still approve it if you wish, and I can talk to the contractor on getting options and see if there's options on that.
So you can approve it with contingent options.
Well, they're not going to want
It's not going to change the fact that we have this pot of money that might expire. We're definitely not going to be able to go back by June. If we went back and asked for additional appropriations, for example, go through the exact same process, get additional money, and then have it vetoed. And most likely we wouldn't even know if that was occurring until July, because that's typically what happens. So really what's on the table right now is awarding the contract and taking advantage of the $600,000 or not.
But we've got a year to take advantage of that $600,000. I don't think we're at risk of losing it. I mean, it shouldn't take more than a couple of weeks to come up with some more attractive walls, should it?
It depends.
As you mentioned, it's not just the contractor, it's the state, it's a whole series of people, so.
It's a series.
Months.
A series
Maybe
of
months, and then we start getting into the end of the year, And then that is 6 months, that next June comes upon you and there's no guarantee you're gonna get money next year.
All we have to do is award the contract to have that 600 kick in, right?
No, you have to spend the money.
Okay.
You
Well,
got
you
it.
have to, when you award a contract, don't you have to make a deposit?
No, usually you pay as
Draws.
draws.
But don't they get a first draw immediately?
No, after they mobilize, then they get a draw. But
I think there's a lot of factors involved in this timeline, which is why Joe is trying to get us to make a decision.
Joe, do you think of just adding another month is to get some new options for the walls is going
Well-
to throw it in jeopardy?
The contractor's been really, let me explain it this way. The contractor has been really patient with us because they extended the date because we asked them to, because of the 250,000 contingency. So I think they'd want us to sign something before they do research on how much it's going to cost for options. So the change orders are common. I was going to talk to you about that because if you approve this, you actually didn't give me, this doesn't give us any money for change orders, but that discussion is wait till we after if you approve it or not. But if you approve this, I can immediately call them. We're going to sign the contract, but we'd like to look into a change order if I get a consensus here to see what our options on whatever that's called, the railing or concrete wall or whatever. And I did, to fill in a little bit more color, I did ask Dan about that. And he said it was the cheapest option. That's why they went with that.
I remember him mentioning that in the video conference.
Oh, I see. She wants to see through it? Like look down the canal?
Yeah, like the
How big
bridge
is it?
currently,
Yeah,
the bridge
yeah.
currently has like pilings
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
no.
space.
Yeah.
Drive past the one on Florida Mango, you'll see what I mean. It's
But
very industrial looking.
That's the reason they're like that, because everything is low bid, unfortunately.
Right, I know there was something to do with the safety factor. There's certain current codes that we have to meet now that weren't in place for this older bridge. And that's the cheaper route. You could do more railings and more aesthetically pleasing, but it's gonna cost more money, obviously, so.
Yes, Dan didn't even mention that. He said he thought it would be like, his guess would be about 5% more overall project if we changed that.
My experience, because I do work with contractors for a living, is that it costs more to make a change order than to get the same thing done before you sign the contract.
Yes, you're right. I agree with that too. But
But keep in mind with the contractor's been patient and we said go, and now we're saying wait, and now we're saying wait again. So you might just say, you may have an out for us, and we went back to rebidding it, to kicking the can down the road, and then we're back to the appropriations timeline. So I agree with you. I think it should be more aesthetically pleasing. However, I think that we should, I would recommend, and everyone's got to make their decision on their own. Let's approve it with the next.
Is this a motion?
Can I speak after speaking?
Well, once it gets seconded, we can have discussion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve moving forward with the Pine Street Bridge contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
I think I think we could get a more attractive design at a better price if Joe goes back and tries to wiggle a little bit. And, I think if we try to do a change order after we've signed a contract, the price will be more expensive.
It will be more expensive either way. if we
Yes,
change
but
it now.
it would be incrementally more expensive for a change order. I mean,
We don't really know.
is it something that you could just make a call in the next couple of days
We'd still be pushing it to September, right? This awarding of the contract?
I'll do whatever you ask me to do, but there's uncertainty. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not displeased with this. I think my concerns are always safety, and I'm assuming they picked the safest option and what we're spending. And, third would be that overall, the beautification aspect of this. But I think the first two are my main priority. I don't think this is displeasing in any way, which is why I don't have the same.
Nobody
Perspective
even knew
on
what
it,
this
I-
looked like until
Mhm.
until last month. I mean, this
But
everybody was moving forward on this without even having a design in mind.
No, we had the design and then we discussed it and decided to move forward to this
Is that
next
fence-
step.
Joe,
But we did get the photo.
Yeah.
is the fence that's up there on there's a residential
That's not-
property right there
That's
where
not accurate.
the fence is right on this, which would be the east side. Is that part of the deal there too? Or do
No,
they already have that there?
that's not part of the deal.
No, just,
Because that's private property.
yeah, we can't go on private property. No.
Yeah, so
I also feel like the bridge, because I go down Gregory to go to my house from Florida Mango, that probably has some different parameters around it because of the size of
I was told today it's the same bridge, it's the same design.
Well,
the color and everything that's happening over there.
another option Charlie brought up, which is, I want to share, Charlie, is to remind you all, my comment would be, remind you all that we are planning for lighting on there. So we have conduit, but we didn't want to put the money into the lighting. We wanted to get the bridge in. So we have conduit, we have a lot of space for 4 lights. So Charlie's good comment is then when we do that, maybe we can look at some facade or something to enhance the quality of the looks or the.
Yeah, what came to my mind was the concrete railing on the south side of Southern Boulevard in Royal Palm Beach. It's the typical concrete curved barrier, but they've got a steel or aluminum decorative railing on top of it that was added to it. And that's a possibility that could make it more attractive.
I think this one already has the railing on it.
I couldn't see from here.
You know, you can't see it in the picture, but the one on Florida Mango has 2 rails, 2 big rails on top.
There's
Which-
no railing on top of the concrete barrier.
Oh, the one on Florida Mango does have 2 railings on top,
Right.
which are even more unattractive than the wall.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't look like this though.
I
What they built does not look like that. So that's surprising.
I know.
that That's
See,
exactly.
this
the
one
same.
this one isn't so bad, but Florida Mango's
The
terrible.
Florida Mango
It's
is
so
intense.
ugly. It's industrial looking.
So are you saying that the rendering is accurate or are they building what they built on?
No, I would not count this rendering as accurate. Remember, I paid $700 from another country.
yes,
So it was the best I could get for $700.
saving money, Joe.
You say not accurate, you're talking about the surroundings more than the bridge itself.
Yeah, there's gonna be some,
Minor things.
Yeah, it's
If
gonna be
there's
different.
a rail on top of that concrete,
there's a house on that
it's
side.
very possible.
Yeah, there's a railing, there's a variety of things. So we have a motion on the table. Is everybody want to call a question?
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
So, my biggest concern with this bridge, I know that I made the motion to move forward with the bridge project, with 2 conditions, one being the rendering, which we're looking at now, and the second one being the 250,000 appropriation. And we did not get it. And my concern is that we've got, again, $1.4 million in reserves. We take out $700,000 of reserves, okay? Now we're running a really, really, really thin operation. And there's going to be change requests. There's going to be, we've got some other requests. There's going to be more money required here for this bridge, which means our reserves are going to continue to dwindle with no real plan to get a significant amount of money back in reserves in a reasonable amount of time with a lot of stuff coming up. So I'm actually not for moving forward right now on the bridge because we would be tapping reserves and really effectively putting ourselves in a position with our fingers crossed, hoping that nothing happens major that would require a significant amount of money. So, I'm all for it. I know we have until June 2025 to make sure we don't lose the $600,000 appropriation that we did receive. I understand that the builder has been overly patient with our town, but this is a lot of money and it's requiring us to hit a significant part of our reserve. And I don't feel comfortable with us having such little reserves when we've got a lot of things that could come up, and spending so much of our reserves on a bridge that's not quite to the point where we have to actually move forward with anything yet. It is a significant risk that I don't feel comfortable putting the town in that position. Now, that's just me. I'm one council member. That's why there's 5 of us, but that's my take on the deal. From a purely financial perspective, that's my take on that from a finance perspective.
Any other comments?
Joe,
Yes.
what are your thoughts about the reserve and where we're pulling all this, the funding for the additional to make up the difference?
You know, on one hand, you got to agree with John. It's concerning when we don't even have a large reserve and you're taking half of it approximately out. We're getting close to the minimum what we need to have without getting a write-up, because you need at least 2 months of reserves. We're more than that. We're 4 months or so. So you're getting close to that level of concern. But on the other side, we're not financially strapped as much as you think. The only debt or leverage we have is $600,000 outstanding, which will be paid in 2027. So on one hand, yes, we're taking a lot of money reserves and we don't have any. But on the other hand, we do have other resources if we had to, in an emergency, get a revenue bond, which a revenue bond is you pledge some of those intergovernmental revenues. Somebody asked me about that. Intergovernmental revenues, what that word means. Intergovernmental means revenues from other governments. But anyway, that you can pledge those, you get a bank loan. We don't have a lot of debt on the general fund side. Again, it's all going to sunset in the next few years. So that's what you should weigh out, John's comments. But you have to look at the whole balance sheet. The balance sheet does not have a lot of debt, which is, I think the balance was like, John asked me, like 690,000?
Yeah,
John?
690,000 on the general portfolio and 2.2 million on the utility.
We have way more debt on the utility side, but and that's not paid out. Low interest rates on both. 2 great loans, good decisions, 2%. Yeah. But that one doesn't mature to 2038. But this one on the general fund does mature in the next few years. So we'll be debt free in a few years. So just want to give you the whole picture.
So we still meet the parameters and the reserves, even though we're on the low end, we're still.
Yeah, we're
okay. Not.
We're there. We're just barely there. Yes.
Okay.
What's the number, Joe? The two months. What is the number that we need to have?
Well, if the budget's roughly $5 million, 2 months of $5 million is, let me calculate it. That's the rule of thumb. $5 million divided by 12 times 2 is 833,000. Very close.
I mean, we're going to be like right there.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to revisit the fact that this project was not brought to us because it's a bridge that isn't, it's outdated. It just doesn't look pretty. It's not a beautification project. This was brought to us as a public safety concern. There could be a liability. You see these stories on the news all the time of issues with bridges. And I know this isn't a huge bridge, where hundreds of cars are going to fall in, but I hate the idea that we held on a project that we're being told this is a safety concern for the residents who use this bridge every day. So that's where I go back to, and that we do in this case right now in this moment in time have over $500,000 to put towards the project that will definitively expire. So I appreciate both sides, but at the end of the day, I think you do spend the money to keep people safe.
I echo that sentiment. It's more about the safety than the aesthetic of it. Obviously, we like more and the financial aspect of it, but it's good. We're on notice. There's a safety and structural issue, and at some point, we don't want the some point to happen. I think we need to take action now and fix this now before we do have an incident. Maybe in public safety, I've been around the issues where they've had bridge failures. We don't want that. So we've been put on notice. It's not about the look of it. Obviously, it's going to make it more functional as far as walking, cycling, walking your dogs, because I do the same. Every time I walk across that thing, I have to look 3 ways because somebody's not stopping or somebody's speeding by there. So I think let's move forward and beautify this, let's bite the bullet and tighten the budget and move forward, and let's get this project moving forward before we do have an incident. I don't like the after the fact. We're on notice that it's a safety issue. Let's take care of it while we got the funds and not let it go.
Mr. Mayor, point of order,
Yep.
just to be clear, this is a functional obsolete, which does not mean that the bridge is unsafe in any capacity. The bridge has a sufficiency rating of 66. The sufficiency rating is a tool used to help determine whether the bridge is structurally deficient or functionally obsolete and should be repaired or replaced. You know, FDOT requires action be taken when a sufficiency rating falls below 60. So if we want to replace the bridge, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that the message that's being put out there isn't saying that cars driving across the bridge, all of a sudden the car's going to fall in the water. That is not, let's be very clear, that's not what we're saying here. If we want to replace the bridge, fine, but the bridge is not in any capacity. We have not been mandated. We have not been told we have to replace a bridge today. That has not ever come across the table. So I just want to make sure that that is on record and clear, irregardless if we pass it and get the bridge fixed and do the project moving forward. I just want the town to understand we haven't, no one's going to fall in the water. That is.
Well, of course, thank you for that clarification. However, we have the opportunity to make the changes now with the money that we have. In a few years, if we decide now to revisit that and we don't have that money, we'll be spending more. And at that point, we don't know what the rating could be. After a couple of storms, let's say we get hit by a couple of bad hurricanes and it shakes it up even more this summer, that rating could go from 66 to below that 60 very quickly. I'm not a bridge engineer. I don't know how they come up with those ratings. My fear is that then we're pushing the limit, because then we hit below 60 and they say, now this has to get done. This is a liability and we don't have the money to do it. That's the clarification to that clarification of that statement. But I appreciate you saying that. I don't want to like make panic around the bridge being unsafe.
Maybe Joe could clarify what functional obsolete means, because I think you've mentioned before, pretty much similar to what Mr. Maples has said.
Well,
And that I
sorry.
believe in another meeting you said this bridge could have 10 more years before it reaches 60, a rating of 60.
That's correct. That's what the engineer said. That's why I didn't brought the engineers in. I brought the professionals in. That rating from 60 to 6, we don't know when it'll get to 60. It's more of the functionally obsolete. You can just read it. It just means the bridge does not meet current road design standards. For example, some bridges are functionally obsolete because they are built at a time when lane widths were narrower than current standards, of concern to the community where they share the road and have no sidewalks, which we have no sidewalks there, and improvements to the road lane widths, additional sidewalks, and additional bike lanes. So also could be included is handrails, guardrails, approaches, park access, vehicle visibility, pedestrian visibility. That's why it's functionally obsolete, is because of those things. It's two things, the structural and that.
Thank you for clarifying that for everybody.
Yeah, those definitions are in my memo.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Want to call the vote?
I have another comment.
Yes, of course.
Councilmember Mosbach, if Joe goes and asks for a revision of this that includes some of the beautification in the areas that you're most concerned about, would you feel comfortable moving forward?
I heed Mr. Maples' comments about the finances, but I would be amenable to moving forward if it could be an attractive structure.
So
if I'm put to a vote right now, my vote is nay.
So we could, do we have to vote on that motion and then remake a motion?
You have a
Or
motion.
can we amend it?
She can amend the motion.
So you would have to amend it because
No, somebody else amended.
Yeah,
anybody can amend the motion.
yes.
Correct.
So then am I clear that then this would actually be going to, we'd be moving this to the September?
August.
Sorry,
This is, yeah,
are we meeting? We are, guys.
this is July, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they will have an answer for you in August.
That's correct. It's unknown.
It's an unknown.
Yeah.
Well, we would move it to the August meeting. Joe, you would be going back to the contractor
Yeah,
for potential opportunities.
And it's unlikely that they're going to change the design of the wall itself, because that's a design to prevent cars from flipping over the railing into the water. So the decoration is going to be on top of that wall. It's likely, very unlikely that they're going to tell you that they can change that wall itself.
There will be lighting in the future, and there are other things you can put on there down the line.
And Joe, can I also ask the sort of the beautification items that we're discussing, those are things we could do in future years with
Yes.
another budget, so.
But no, if you look at the bridges from West Palm Beach to Palm Beach, they all have openings in the walls. So I don't think it's a safety issue to put.
That's
No, it's a
specifically what you're looking for,
budgetary-
is the opening,
They don't have their
opening the wall.
budgets.
Yeah, it just looks like a CBS, looks
No.
like a CBS house in Tamarind Avenue or something.
No,
No
Dan,
offense to
Dan said it was a
Cameron.
financial decision.
Again, if you want the nicest, the most structural, pretty bridge, you're gonna have to pay more money. It's a matter of money versus functional, and I think that we could fix it up down the road, but again.
And you can't change the walls down the road. Once
No,
it's built,
no,
it's
but
built.
What he just went back to, you talked about the bigger bridges in West Palm Beach that got the railings and stuff like that, because they spent more money doing it. Yes, we could do that, but it's gonna cost more money. The fixed concrete barrier side of it is the best we're gonna get at this price. Can we add to that and make it beautify it? I believe, according to what I'm hearing here, yes, there's things that we can add to it that will make it look more aesthetically pleasing, but you get what you pay for. You want to buy a Ford or you want to buy a Maserati? We can't afford a Maserati.
Mm.
You know, we need to fix.
I think
the
an
bridge.
Infinity would be right. I don't think we need a Ford.
Right. We need to fix- and I think.
Seen the price of Fords lately?
I think it's more the safety issue moving forward, and I think that we could beef it up with the CRA, with the lighting, and get your input on how we can make it nicer looking. We're not gonna get the Mac Daddy for the price that we're paying. From what I understand.
Okay, I'm going to add some of my comments in now, and then if there's been no amendment, we'll call the vote and we'll go from there. It's been recommended. Joe and I have had these discussions. This is what happens in the town of Lake Clark Shores over the years. The can does get kicked down the road. The prices will not come down. We're dealing with the same thing with the septic to sewer conversion. 20 years ago, it would have cost $9,000, 25 years ago, whatever the number is. In this world, in Palm Beach County, prices are not going down. They're going up in everything, period. I agree. We're going to be hitting into our reserves, but we're not as financially strapped as there's all sorts of creative accounting to be done. That's why we hired Joe, is to help us with this. Now, I do agree, it could be beautified down the line, but if we continue, how many bids did we get in this originally, Joe? Two.
Two on this one.
So they're not knocking down our door to come to work here on this. So this number that you see right here, I agree. I don't want to lose the $600,000. We had our opportunity to get more, which, just for the record, was highly unusual that they even entertained for us to go back and ask for another appropriation in this same project. I couldn't believe they actually entertained it, but they did. We still were vetoed. So if we wait, it costs more, just like with everything else. I don't understand the obsolete, but I do understand the state of Florida can come in and impose their will anytime they want. We're at a number, we have a number, we have a contractor, we can do all sorts of future beautifications when the money comes in, because there will be lighting on the bridge, correct?
Well, it's
At some point in time, you're going to put in, conduits
that would be
for
my
the-
recommendation, but it would be a vote by you all. Yeah, but we
just
planning,
like we have with the other bridges.
right, we're planning for it.
Right, that's a game plan. So that rendition that you see right there is not a finished product. That's like going in and painting a wall and saying, okay, I'm going to decorate with furniture, pictures, things of that nature. It's the same thing. So has there been an amendment, or are we going to vote on the original motion?
I'll offer an amendment that we wait a month and see if Joe can get us some better walls.
Do we have a second? Is that a sufficient amendment, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay? Okay, so that fails. So now,
I failed to say one thing, and I don't have it.
how you say that?
I'm trying to look at my emails. They did extend this price first, and I don't have the date. I can't find the date. Obviously, we're okay now, but I don't know if we're okay for August 13th. Just to put that on the record. Can you try to look at that, Emily, while I'm looking for it? What date did they extend it to? It's an email. Did you get that, Charlie?
Okay. I think that's sort of a game changer too.
They don't have to sign the contract after that date.
So I would like to revisit the original awarding the contract to replace the Pine Tree Bridge. Just make a motion to award the contract with no amendments and move forward.
Well, doesn't it fall back to my motion? It falls back to the original motion.
No, because there was an amendment made
The
to it.
amendment
Yeah,
fails.
so we needed a new,
getting
new motion.
The amendment failed, so the original
Okay.
motion is still on the floor.
Great.
Okay,
They
good.
will hold prices till July 9th.
They'll hold prices to July.
I told you
That's tonight.
that's tonight.
Tight.
I told them it was tonight.
So now you tell us.
So we made a motion and we have that motion
Just so
second.
Motion is on the table.
Just so everybody knows, concrete is an incredibly high price right now.
Right.
And
Just ask the county. They've got to redo all of 6th Avenue Bridge another year because of improper contracting, low bid. It's unbelievable to me, but I don't make the rules.
July 9th.
July
It's
9th,
today.
that's
Yeah, I
today.
just said that. Yeah, it's July
So
9th.
we have a motion on the table. We had a second. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
nay,
All right, carries 3-2.
Thank you. It was
Okay,
I appreciate it. It wasn't an easy one, so I appreciate
that's
that.
okay. That's why we have this. We are in the sunshine talking, discussing, period. That's the way this works. Okay, so now we're going to move on to approval of a piggyback agreement with All County Paving for 3 town paving projects, which are some of the road projects that everybody is concerned about. Staff recommendations is that we recommend the town council consider a motion to approve the piggybacking agreement 20G-46V between the school district and All County Paving, the proposal 2024-86906 for $119,785.50 between the town and All County Paving for paving certain roads in the town. Do we have a motion to approve?
can I ask a question?
Sure.
I haven't driven past these areas and because I couldn't, the picture was too small to figure out what was going on in here. We've had complaints about the roads in town, and I've received phone calls from residents about the quality of the roads. Just explain to everybody why these
Yeah, sure.
sections were chosen.
Of course. The one that our resident Tim did bring up is included in here. It's we agree with him, that intersection on Pine Tree Lane and Beta Court, we want to redo that intersection. And that's right there, the north one right there. Then that's 22,000 and change. And then we want to do standard operating procedure. Again, as you look, if there's nothing going to be done in that roadway in the next 10 years, that roadway is actually a Palm Springs utility. We went to Palm Springs. They don't anticipate doing anything there in 10 years. So that roadway, which is Oak Drive and Edgewater Circle, that's the middle project. It's pretty big, as you can see. That's the one where you signed 2 easements so we can go on a little bit of private property a couple months ago. That's $56,000. And then the last project, which I think it's more of it's functional and aesthetic, is the boat ramp, because the boat ramp right now has really not pleasing to the eye, dead grass and dirt on both sides of it. So I'd like to asphalt the 2 sides and put curbing in, make it look really good, very functional. And because this is one of our biggest assets, and it doesn't look up to town PAR's standards. So I'd like to see that. So all 3 of those projects add up to the 119,000 and change. We budgeted $140,000. We're well below budget. It's piggyback on a bid out project from the school board. So we're recommending these 3 projects.
So in essence, we're saving 20,000 by piggybacking. More or less.
No, it means we just under what we estimated a year ago during the budget
Spending
process.
less than we budgeted.
Yes.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve. Yes.
And I apologize for not being clear in your packet, but the emails were clear, right? When you sent that, we sent that out. Did you see that in an email? It was clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A question, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, of course.
I know Joe and I spoke about the, roads and how they were chosen, and some of the criteria for the roads were, as you said, 10 years. And I know there's probably other roads in the town that are in need of desperate repair, or I guess that's subjective, just based on whoever rides down the road in their opinion. But let's just say there's other roads that need repair. I think one of the conversations after the charrette will be, setting the agenda for the town and talking about roads and all those types of things. So this isn't approval of this project, just as a point of reference and comment, isn't the end all be all conversation for all roads in the town. This is just some roads and some projects that were identified that kind of meet this 3-tier standard that really need to be done, that aren't going to have any projects on the books currently for them for the next 10 years. It doesn't mean that we're not going to commit to doing other road projects here after this charrette, and after some information is more information is on the table. So just a point of comment, Mr. Mayor, about this project. Thank you.
And the staff agrees with that.
Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second it.
To motion to approve?
I'm sorry. Yes, apologize, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the project as presented with the piggyback with all county paving for the 3 town paving projects.
Okay, we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, carries.
When it's a lot of money.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, item D, appointments of the Code Enforcement Board, the Zoning Board of Adjustments, and the Infrastructure Surtax Citizen Oversight Committee. Mr. Scheck.
Oh, I put you on there. You want me to start, or do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. We really don't have a procedure on appointments to boards, so we might want to discuss that. Obviously I discussed this with all of you individually, so we might want to look at other cities on how they do it. In Juno Beach, we actually did have a procedure on how to do that. It does work out this time because, but some cities, like they actually, each council member appoints the member to the board. So that's pretty common, right?
Yes, it is.
So we can look at that in the future. I did discuss that with Taylor and a few others with you, that we could look at that as an option in the future. But this time it kind of works out because we need 3 people on the code board. There's 3 applicants. We need 2 people on the zoning board. We have 2. The only thing that doesn't work out is the infrastructure surtax citizens oversight committee, which should be sunsetting. Well, the money's running out late next year, but it still stays, the committee will still stay active. They only meet once a year. They verify if we're spending the money correctly. And we only need one person for that. So, but there's two people here. So I don't even know why there's 3 members there instead of 4 or 5, but again, so you might have to pick one or appoint both. I don't know.
You're talking about for the oversight committee?
Right,
Yeah,
that's the only one that there's a
Guidance
problem.
on that.
How many people sit on that committee?
3. I went to it 2 times now, even when I was not employed, but it was 3 people there. And is there, I guess there had to be a code set up to set, there had to be, and it probably says 3. Again, it's not a heavy lift because you're meeting once a year. Your job is like go over the projects that we're spending in that infrastructure, what we're planning on, and you're verifying that we're following the referendum that was passed, the ordinance that was passed by the county, and we're spending the money for infrastructure purposes. So you need to pick one, or you need to, I could bring them both in. I don't have a suggestion besides that because staff tries to stay out of it.
So, but we can appoint both of them and extend beyond the 3.
I'm not aware that you can appoint both. I think it's probably limited to 3.
You'd have to change the code.
Yes.
You'd have to change the code. So it's not an easy thing to do. And again, probably not recommended because it's probably going to sunset in the next couple of years.
And in the past, rather than having each council member appoint a member where there's 5 members, it's always been the council voting on each member. And so that's why it's back here tonight for each of you to vote on the appointments to each of those boards.
So will we create 3 different motions, one for the code, one for the zoning, and one for the surtax? Or because we're going to have to do something separate on the surtax if we can only appoint one.
You can have 3 separate motions. You can have a motion for the code enforcement board and the zoning board and consider the infrastructure surtax committee separately. You don't have to do it in 3. You could do it in 2 or.
And Mr. Sheck, question for you. Do we have to decide on the surtax tonight? Could we do that at another meeting?
You
Yes.
could do that at another meeting, yes.
Yes.
Could we table it and do it at another meeting, give them
Yes.
an opportunity to, because I was under the impression that everybody who signed up, we voted on and they were going to be, it wasn't a decision-making process for the surtax piece. I didn't think that was part of the deal. I thought we kind of, yeah, it wasn't clear in the.
Yeah, I'm sorry if it's not being clear, but yeah, but Charlie's 100% correct. We do not need to make a decision on that board tonight. They only meet once, and I'm trying to remember the month. It's like October,
November.
October, November. Thank you, Emily.
So I would be okay with that. I just want to know, like, what are we asking them to come in at a future meeting, or is it just to give us time to review the resumes? What are you thinking there?
Yeah, I mean, I would be not opposed to,
You're free to meet with them individually, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
we can meet with them.
Yes.
individually.
There's no sunshine problem. You can meet with any board member except for this board.
Yeah, then, yeah, they don't have to come in. I can call each one and meet with them individually if they would like to meet and hear their side of the deal. But I think that gives me an opportunity to kind of review this as well and read it and just make sure that that's the case. I did ask Joe even, what is the infrastructure surtax and how does that impact the town and why is that important? And so just, and then refresh and looking at that, now that I understand that and looking at what each person brings to the table, I think that's going to be important.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to that, but, and I applaud everybody that came forward to put themselves on a committee. These resumes were quite impressive. As far as the infrastructure surtax committee, they both are highly qualified on their resumes. I would tend to think that Bob Shalhoub should get the position because of his his many years of service to the town and his incredible gift to the barbecue every year. He's, you know, he's been quite a public servant for the town of Lake Clark Shores.
Okay, so we will entertain a motion for the code board and for the zoning board that it is approved as presented to us tonight. I can't make that motion. I'm just making sure that that's okay. And then we'll take the other one, we'll table it, give everybody an opportunity to meet with those individuals, and then we can go from there. Correct?
Correct. That is
Okay.
okay.
Motion,
So go ahead,
yeah.
make your motion.
I motion to accept the code enforcement board applicants and the zone board adjustment position for those two boards, accept those applicants as members of their respective committees or boards.
Okay, you got that?
Yes, and as I understand it, you're appointing the 3 code enforcement board members to the code board, and the 2 for the zoning board are alternate positions.
As an alternate member.
Correct.
That's correct.
As it's stated in the.
Yes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, carries 5-0. So do we need a separate motion to table the bottom one, or we're just good with that?
You're just good with that.
Yeah, you don't have to make an appointment tonight.
Okay,
We'll just bring it back at the next meeting.
okay,
Mr. Mayor,
good. Yes.
it's Emily right here.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Can you repeat what the motion was?
The motion was to accept the 5 individuals for the code enforcement recommendation and the zoning board recommendation.
Okay, and did Charlie say that there were any alternate positions?
The
For
two,
the zoning, 2 alternates for the zoning.
2 alternates for the
Okay,
zoning.
they're
3
both
for the code
alternate.
enforcement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And that passed.
And the reason they're on alternate is what happens when there's a vacancy is the alternate moves up to the open vacancy, and that then leaves the alternate position open. So for the zoning board, we're filling those alternate positions.
Okay, we will move on to update on Keller Road traffic. Mr. Lobello and Chief Smith. Who
Thank-
wants to start?
I'd like to start. Okay. During their last meeting, council members asked if we can put the Keller Road, I think it was John, put it on the agenda for us to discuss. I mentioned at that meeting, since we have an issue with speeding and unsafe conditions, I would reach out to Simmons and White, our traffic engineer. I did that. His report is in the packet to summarize, and the chief can go over that, but there's no speeding there that is detectable. And I also, so he don't have to return back in October, if you guys decide on removing those gates in October permanently. I asked that question now, so we would waste two visits. And he said, no, his recommendation is everything. Therefore, no changes to Keller roads are required or recommended now or after the gates are permanently removed. So his report is in there for everybody to read. The chief can talk about that there's no speeding or he doesn't experience any speeding.
Right, we did, for the last month, we did 90 directed patrols. That's where officers are assigned at different times on 3 different shifts. 90 were done, no violations. That was observed by the officers. Also, we put the speed sign up that does a database to the cloud. I put an attachment to you that shows that where the speed ranges were. So you should be able to look at that. So from what we've observed and from what the officers are saying, that they don't see an issue there. Now, that doesn't mean somebody could go by and speed, but we did 90 directed patrols. So that's 1 on every shift at different times. Also, the LPR camera, we checked over 16,450 vehicles entering the town from Lake Worth. That's an average of about 550 vehicles a day. I will tell you on the database that none of those vehicles had any criminal issues, wants or warrants, stolen tags and stuff like we get on the other cameras and systems. So for the past month, as far as the department's concerned, we didn't have an issue with that. And you're free to talk to the officers because actually they're getting aggravated to going down there because they got other places they prefer to do traffic enforcement. So I wanted to, I talked with the manager and I thought it was important to add that in since we did the directed patrols. And you're free to talk to the officers on what they did and went down there. Of course, on the midnight shift, some of them had no vehicles coming through at all, but we made them spend the time and the effort so I could have the 90 directed patrol. Directed patrols is when you're directed by staff for an assignment because you have a complaint to follow up and see if that complaint is baseless or true. So.
Thank you and the patrol officers that did that. Joe, and I'll address this, even though the traffic engineer is saying there's not a speeding issue and it's isolated, there is still, we don't want that one isolation, hit a kid, hit a dog, hit a resident. Is there anything that we could, or is there any harm in us considering doing some kind of safety measures regardless? I mean, it's a small area, speed humps, just to slow down people, even though it's very few people.
We have speed humps there. It's very hard to speed. Somebody could, but if you go there and drive back and forth, also Lake Worth put in some speed humps. So there's like 4 or 5 of them before you come into Lake Clark. Pedestrian traffic, the officer said they really haven't seen much pedestrian traffic. Sometimes in the morning, you may have people jogging and they use part of the sidewalk, that there is a sidewalk near that bridge going on the bridge. But I've been down there and you can talk with the officers and they didn't see an issue. You know, I mean, you can always say, God forbid, somebody could get hurt or injured. It's the same as police work. I could say, you know, we could lose a police officer and there's the liability and the statistics and stuff are very high right now. So you know, you could talk about that, but I don't want to be negative. I want to be positive about that. I don't see any problem at all.
I'm trying to listen to the facts and your officers doing their job. Also listen to the residents who live there day in and day out, who are still concerned about it.
Right.
I don't know where the happy medium is or direction we could do to resolve the issue.
I have a question because I take it very seriously when we're put on notice too. And obviously there was an incident, Mr. Daughtry, that you said took place this morning. Was there, was it police involved incident at Keller Road?
I think he said it was just busy today because of the bridge.
No, something with a little
We've got
girl.
increased traffic, but I haven't had any. I
said
have
this
not,
morning.
I have not any complaints at the police department saying that.
Just want to clarify
there was
the
a issue. I haven't had
situation.
any complaints.
Do you want to speak now? Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. I live there. Okay. Got 2 preschool kids directly across the street from me. Okay. I've got the Renix next to me, and then there'll be somebody go into the Marshalls over there. Okay. This morning was a disaster. Okay, I don't know what to say. Traffic was from the bridge all the way to one after. I mean,
Yes, yes.
many cars on.
It was a very tough
going
traffic
that way.
morning.
Okay. This afternoon, the postal worker delivering mail, very close to getting in a major accident in front of my house because of someone piling down the road, heading towards Lake Worth. Okay. I physically observed it. Speeding's an issue there. All you gotta do is look at the grooves on top of the speed hump in front of my next door neighbor. All you gotta do, it happens. Okay, and I watched what did I say, 4 or 5 or 600 a day speeding down the road, okay? I mean, cameras are the cameras, and that's the fact, okay? Yeah. But I'm telling you what my observations are, and I'm not a camera, okay? And I'm not, measuring someone's speed. I don't have a radar gun, but I can tell you, there are people speeding on that road today, and it was dangerous on that road today. And I've said it every week, every month, I'll continue to say it. Freeway stop sign at South Lake, Bridge in Keller, and a speed hump of some sort on South Lake is needed. Okay? And it doesn't have to be anything permanent. It can be just like one of the speed humps we just put in on, what we put in a little while ago over on Venetian. It could be just something, just take down, okay? That's all I'm saying. It behooves us to be proactive rather than reactive, okay? If we had done this before today, the traffic would be managed. The fact is, we didn't do it before today. So the traffic is not manageable this week, okay? It behooves us to be proactive rather than reactive. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to add on, if you look at the count on the speed range, out of 14,822 trips, the fastest vehicle, this is like 2%. 2% of that was between 26 and 30. 26 and 30. Majority of the speed was between 16 and 20 miles per hour. I mean, you can look on the graph and see, and that's all database by the computer, and it goes to the cloud and we pull it off. Now, Tim hasn't seen that, and that's not to say you could have one or two or a car at a certain time speed, but actually, statistically, and looking at the other 5 or 6 other database speed systems that we have in town, that's considered the safest road as far as speeding. There's just not enough length in the road for you to maintain that speed. As far as speed humps and putting those things in, that all has to be done by engineers. And I'm not an engineer, but I tell you, from what you have there now, I can't see adding anything more, because then you may get into legal issues or liability issues. So, but that's not my call. I just give you the facts, and you can absorb it and look at it and make your decision on that.
I just, with the residents' concern and looking forward, we did experience today, and we're only talking about this small little work on for a week on the railroads. This is going to be the same issue when this gets closed off. We're going to have more traffic coming in.
You got 600,000 cars moving down Forest Hill Boulevard. You got 200 homes that are
I'm
going
just
to be
saying, when we do
redirected.
the bridge and we close off.
Yeah, no, I know. Because we looked at keeping that bridge open one lane at a time, doubled the cost.
No,
So-
We have about 60,000 vehicles a day on Forest Hill, most of them going to I-95 from out west Wellington and so forth. So it's going to be aggravating for the next 4 or 5 days. Hopefully they'll get it done by Saturday. Logistically, I went down there and they did a great job on getting the logistics and stuff there. They said that it may go through Sunday, but it looks like it could be late Friday. It could be early Saturday morning. But there's things needed to be done down at the railroad tracks with the system down there, because there's a lot of liability and issues on their part, and that's why it was done.
And my point was that we're going to have increased traffic with the bridge being closed. Obviously not to this degree, because some of the traffic we're getting, that increased traffic is coming off of Pine Tree. But we're going to have more traffic coming in and out of there. And this morning was worst case scenario. I don't think we'll have that degree with the bridge closing, but we are going to have increased traffic. So I don't know what the answer is to try to address the concern.
Yeah. Now remember, I got a LPR camera system, so I'll be able to get, sometimes people can say, oh, we've got thousands of cars. Well, I'll have a database. I'll tell you exactly how many cars and if any of the vehicles were involved in anything illegally. It's mostly people trying to go to work. I think as the days go on, it should be less traffic.
people are going to figure they can't get on I-95 and they're going to go to 10th or Southern Boulevard. But we'll have officers in the area and I'll be in that area too. And that's an issue that Joe and I talked about on the bridge issue too, with the traffic and opening it up and that. But those are things that we can address from a management point with the manager and the police department. If it comes to that, we can assign extra officers down there and pay them overtime, extra duty if we feel it warrants that. So, but every day I touch base with the manager. He's out riding around. When he's got time, I'm out. I go out all the time. So.
Chief, regarding the Keller Road data that you collected, during rush hours, like 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evening, does the data show you which direction most of the traffic is going in?
Most of the traffic, believe it or not, are residents coming back and forth or going to work that live in that general area. It's just quicker to go the Keller Road and go in that area, maybe hit US 1, than going down to Forest Hill. Now, one of the things that they did when they decided to do this, because some people say, why are they doing it now? Well, you don't want to do it with school, when the high school and the schools are open. So that's why they decided to do this during the summer, because it would be less pedestrian traffic and less vehicles, people trying to get to the high school and the elementary school at a park.
No, I'm not talking about the train. I'm talking about the train issue. I'm talking about just the traffic study for Keller Road, not having to do anything to do with the railroad. I'm trying to figure out if most of the traffic going over the Keller Bridge is Lake Clark residents exiting in the morning, or is it Lake Worth people cutting through?
Yeah, we'd have to run all the tags, but I mean, if you go down there and like I've been here so long, I mean, you can see the residents and they wave and you see them coming back and forth. Mostly it's, the cut through, it's always been people cutting through. They're worried about cutting through. But I think if you look at the database, it averages out to 550 vehicles in a 24-hour period. And you can divide 24 into 550 and that would give you an idea how many vehicles an hour. So.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if the Keller Road is mostly being used by Lake Clark residents or by Lake Worth residents.
Well, I wouldn't know that, but from what I observe in the morning time, it appears to be residents.
It's mostly outbound traffic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then in the evenings, it's mostly inbound traffic?
Inbound. So. Any other questions?
Thank you.
I hope I made myself
Good.
clear. We spent a lot of time on this. So.
2%.
Thank you.
Yes. I thought it'd be higher than that, but I was like shocked. I ran it like 3 times and went to the cloud to pull that stuff off.
Right.
So.
Okay. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let's move on to new business. Presentation of proposed budget for fiscal year 2024, 2025.
Thank you, Mayor. As promised during the workshop, this is the part you have to vote on. It's required to have this done sometime in July, by the end of July. So what we're recommending is to pass the same millage rate as last year and fix the date as stated on Monday, September 9th. So somebody has to read that entire motion, please.
Motion.
You actually have to read the
You have to
entire.
read the entire.
I would be acknowledged. Can I make the motion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at something else for what's next for her. Consider a motion to set the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 2024, 2025 at 6.1 mills and set the date for the first budget hearing for Monday, September 9th, 2024 at 6:30 PM.
Somebody has to make that motion. You can't make that motion.
Yeah, I know, I read it. Somebody has to make it. I just get to read.
I'd like to make a motion to propose a millage rate for year 2025 at 6.1 and set the date for the first budget hearing for Monday, September 9th at 6:30 PM.
Perfect.
Second,
Second.
anyone? Do we have a second?
I second.
Councilmember
Oh,
Masbach
okay,
second.
sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on new business is registry for surveillance cameras. Councilmember Materio, you
So
have the floor.
I know I bring up safety every time I talk. But this was proposed and as an idea that could be very cost effective, but increase our public safety here in the town of Lake Clark Shores. And I asked staff to revisit the idea of a camera registry here in the town of Lake Clark Shores, and they did that. Thank you very much. And I wanted to let Joe actually go into detail about what that might look like.
Thank you. Yeah, we did talk to the city of West Palm Beach who uses this method. What it is you actually, on a voluntary basis, if you have cameras, residential or commercial properties, can register their cameras with the town. West Palm Beach actually uses right on their website. You can voluntarily say that I have cameras. So if there's an investigation in the area, or if there's a criminal event in the area, the officer speeds up their time by not looking for the cameras. They don't have to. They could look at our database and say that house has cameras, that commercial place has cameras, and it might speed up the investigation. So I talked to the chief about it. We'll put it in the buzz. We don't think it's that labor intensive to do it. So obviously we would do it anyway, but if there was an incident in the area, but this might speed it up because sometimes you don't even see cameras that might be behind a tree and stuff like that. So we would just tell our residents, please, on a voluntary basis, register your cameras. And again, we would notify you if there's an incident and you would tell us if we can use your footage. Again, you can still deny it because everything's voluntary because it's your private footage.
And I'll just follow with a lot of the neighborhood associations in West Palm Beach have like informational sessions and camera registry, almost like a drive, like do this month with us, make our neighborhood safer. I know they're much larger than us, but we're growing here, and I would love for us to consider this.
I do have a question. I think it's a great idea. I just wanted to follow up with the registry piece in that database for the registry. Is that something that maybe we can set up, Chief? I guess this is a question to you because your team would probably be managing the registry of folks who volunteer their cameras. Is that something that they can also like update the information? Oh, we've moved and we no longer have cameras, or how do we plan to keep that data up to date? Or is that something that's even a concern? It's if they have cameras, great. If someone lives there who's willing to share, great. If not, just, oh, well, if they moved and we don't have the cameras. So how do we plan on keeping the registry up to date?
We'd have to keep it up. I will tell you, we've never had an issue because anytime we have a crime, we go door to door in the area. And the last time we had a suicide, a hanging, and we went to the whole neighborhood in the area and we were able to get permission to get a camera to see what happened. So we do it. I think Joe and I talked about it. It'll be a little more work. I think it's positive. We don't have an issue with it, but I don't want people to think that we weren't doing anything when we have been. We go door to door, and actually during a criminal investigation, you're going to go door to door anyway, whether they have a camera or not. And then that's when we ask them if they have a camera and if they would give us access to the camera. I have no issues. I think it's a good idea. The commercial properties, we all know their camera systems, and we use them on a regular basis. The jewelry stores got high-tech cameras and so forth. So there's no issue on our part. Anything you want to add that you feel it may make it better or easier, I'm all for it.
Okay.
But I want you to know that we do it anyway.
Yeah.
But
Well, a registry will just help you do a little less legwork.
Sometimes you feel slighted, like you feel like people think that, why didn't you do this? Why don't you? We've been doing it. We just don't. We're so small that we just don't make an issue out of it. We just do it very discreetly and knock on the doors and stuff, but
We have all the confidence in the world. in-
Absolutely. I want to second that, Chief Smith.
yeah, we have the time to do it. It may be good because you're always going to have what if, so do it and see who would like to sign up.
Right.
And I will tell you, a majority of the people in the community are very cooperative to the police department.
You guys do great community policing.
Great job.
Yes, we have all the confidence in the world. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yes,
Can I ask
of course.
a question? Just in case, since this is starting to get out and people may have questions, if they volunteer to the town that they have cameras, would that be something that's exempt from public records? Kind of like our house watches?
No.
No.
So if they tell us they have cameras and someone says, give me the registry of all your residents with cameras, you have to produce it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
That's a
Yeah.
good question.
Well, we're going to follow West Palm Beach's lead. I'm sure they have that all disclaimer
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
Charlie will handle
That's a
all
good
that.
question.
Charlie will make sure of that.
Which everyone is notified about. I believe there's like, when you go through the registry, I'd have to ask my mom and dad because I know they've done it in West Palm.
Like a release.
It's a whole, yeah, you're not just like turning over this information, and there's a process for how it's updated too. And again, they're much bigger. I think there's quite a few other municipalities that do this because they probably don't have the ability to go door to door immediately, and they're speeding up their investigation because they're able to identify, okay, there's like 25 cameras in this one area. That's where the idea comes. Not that anyone isn't doing the work, that just it can.
Most of the larger departments have fusion centers. So they have people that work around the clock in rooms. Like when you see our EOC, that's kind of a fusion center, but there may not be anybody in there. It's all monitored through the computers, artificial intelligence and stuff. Right now, it's all monitoring the tropics because that's a big issue right now. But also we have access to terrorist activities and different things. But the larger departments do have staff. That's all they do is monitor camera systems and stuff.
So in essence, it would help you if you
I
you
think-
identified an area, you'd go, okay, I know I have 5 houses that have this camera, so you could start with them, and obviously you spread out and knock on everybody's door.
we'd
You'd
still
start
do
with the
that.
cameras.
No, I think it's a good idea. I'll get with the manager. We'll get the information and we'll see how it works out. It's all positive as far as helpful. Be helpful.
This meets the definition of community policing. It's residents getting involved. So, and we have to foster that community policing.
A lot of our residents, not saying all of them, but a lot of them have usually will reach out, hey, I have cameras, if you guys ever need anything,
They want to help.
most
great.
supportive.
They want to help.
So do we need to vote on having this move forward, or can we just instruct that we'd like to explore this further?
I always say if we might spend money, we should get a motion, right?
A motion is the best way. You could do it by consensus, but if you all have the consensus to move forward, you might as well just put a motion on the floor.
Right, because it's,
What is the cost of this? You mentioned money.
well, it's more of time, labor,
Yeah.
putting it together.
It's administrative.
Yeah.
They're just going to
But it's-
donate their footage.
But it's resources, so that's why I always recommend a motion when there's resources or money, put it out.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to make a motion for the registry surveillance cameras.
Bless you.
Begin to, I don't know, we want to put that in process or set up the registry, and I don't know the motion exact language there, but approval of the registry surveillance cameras as Councilmember Materio has presented.
Second, do we have a second? Taylor?
I will second that. I thought you were going to speak, so I didn't want to step on your toes. Thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Okay, status reports. Chief, we're going to start with you since you're on a roll and your microphone's hot.
Well, it's a late night, but I'll go over a few things that might be of interest. The police department responded to 280 calls for service. That would be domestic disturbances, accidents, type of thing. We assisted Palm Springs on 10 calls. armed robberies and different things where we help them set up perimeters that also back us up and help us. Offense reports were 21. So out of the 280 offense reports would mean that we took reports that were probably crime related. Some will be investigated. Some will be forwarded to the state attorney's office. Traffic stops, which is always important. We completed 210 traffic stops for the month. We had 3 crash reports, 3 criminal citations, which were probably arrestable. Moving citations, 41, non-moving citations, 15. And this is the largest that we've had. We gave out a total of 140 warnings. That's good public relations, but when I direct my officers to do traffic enforcement, it's their decision, warning or a citation. So I think that's good information to have, because sometimes people say, they may say to you when they see you, they're not doing traffic, and you can say, well, they did like 210 or 300 traffic stops for the month. Block camera systems, we ran 114,938 tags coming into the town. And we didn't have anything serious. You know, you get suspended license, expired tags. We do get our monthly hit on a individual that's on the watch list for the FBI, but it's just a watch list, terrorist activity. And I'm talking with most of the chiefs, they all get it. It's the nature of South Florida, the makeup of the people that we have. So, and I did a couple graphs on Pine Tree and Westlake, so you could look at it if you have some desire to kind of get an idea of the amount of traffic and the speed and the time factors. There was a criminal mischief that was a felony. Individual was booked in county jail. It is related to domestic. We had 3 mental health issues. We've been getting a lot of this in the last 4 months, where we take people in custody on the Baker Act. And code violations, that's usually important. 34 violations issued, 7 notices for hearings. Code board would be assigned 11 cases. They heard 7, came in compliance. Eric did 55 re-inspections. He had 12 remaining. Golf carts, we did 7 re-inspections, and we added a couple of new golf carts registered. And we handled 13 individual complaints investigated related to code violations. And then the false alarm information was handed out. And then the training is there, and then the meeting and stuff. One thing that Joe is really great, he's really into emergency management. So we've been updating all our policies. Everything is pretty much done, and we're up and running. We're just putting everything together. You all received information to fill out for us, so we have that. So the emergency ops in the town, we're already doing the infrastructure. We're in great shape. Hopefully we will not have a hurricane, but the infrastructure is set up, and we're ready to go, just fine tuning the policies and procedures. That's it.
Okay, and you all received this from Chief Adams. She had to leave.
Yes.
So you have that. Okay, Charlie, you're up.
My report is included in your agenda packet. It's the last item in the packet. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for Mr. Scheck? No? Okay, Mr. LaBella?
Thank you. Our next meeting is our regular Tuesday, the 13th. And then obviously we discussed it's going to a September 9th, which is a Monday, same time, 6:30, but it's a Monday, September 9th. We have a second meeting in September, which is required on the 24th. It's a Tuesday. The septic to sewer charrette or informational session, we call it, is this Monday. I'll talk about that later. The footprints, we actually put 2 of them in there because it's always the third Wednesday, the 17th of July and August 11th, but those are the presentations. We have a presentation by our Palm Beach County Library Services. We have one of the best library systems in the country. So actually utilize their services. We have a great system. Also, we're going to have the Red Cross in August. They're going to talk about fall prevention. We have an international cleanup on September 21st. Then it goes into obviously the DOT thing, which we don't have to talk about. Just to remind everybody about the sewer charrette or session, it's virtual, so it's not going to be here. The participants are not going to be here. They're going to be in their office. You don't have to watch it at 1:30 on Monday because it's going to be on YouTube. You can watch it anytime at your leisure. You can watch it over and over again. So I'm going to watch it a few times, but just want to remind everybody that that's the setup. We got about 39 questions, as I stated here, that needs to be answered. Hurricane preparedness. Thanks, Chief, giving us all praise that we've been meeting on the hurricane. But I also want to talk to the residents who are listening. If you have a problem with your plan or any questions on securing your property, we're here for you. So just call me and we'll come and help you. So, you know, we have a lot of new residents that have never been through a hurricane, never been through a plan. They just moved here from up north or wherever. So call us, utilize our services. We're here to help you. We have a couple pictures on the summer camp. The fishing camp went great. We didn't get the food truck event pictures in there, so we put them in there. The next thing is incredible. When I got here a little short time ago, I noticed that our infrastructure, our wiring on our electrical cable, AT&T wires, they're all sagging. I didn't like them. I'm like, what is going on here? There's a lot of vegetation. So I've been constantly hounding FP&L to say, when are we on that list to bury our lines? Let me explain that because it's a little, because residents are going to start asking you, because this is going to be a program for the next 2 years, next 2 to 3 years. There's transmission lines. Transmission lines are those giant things you see out west. They're from a substation. They're from a plant. Those things have been all hardened. They're all done. You don't really bury those, but they're all done. They're all hardened. They can take a storm, a pretty good storm. Then there's what we call feeder lines. Those are down Florida Mango. They're down Forest Hill. Those lines are not in residential areas. They're almost done fortifying or hardening all the feeder lines, which is a great project because those lines go out, your whole community goes out. Last, they're looking at the laterals, which are in our communities or in our backyards or in your neighborhoods. They're trying to bury those lines and put in those, just lost the word, transformers. Thank you, transformers. I was thinking of the movie. So those transformers, you put them on, they look for sites. There's a box. They actually put them, but they actually take down the lines. So they have told me that they've put north of Forest Hill Boulevard, all our residential area on our list for the next 2 to 3 years to bury all those lines. This is really big news. So obviously, the second question I had was, when are we doing our south? Because I want to do the whole town. So good news because they've done some areas in Palm Springs just around us. So I kept hounding them, and great news. They called me. They're going to start outreaching out. They got to locate these transformers and everything. It's a slow process because you have to design it. You bury the lines, the transformers, but then AT&T and Comcast are still on those lines. So eventually they have to come along and actually bury them. But it's in the right direction, and you will have a lot less failures. And I'm really excited to report this. So great news.
It's only been a year or two since they put up the big cement ones.
Right.
But you're talking for more.
And that might be a feeder line. And that might be a feeder line down Pine Tree.
Pine trees, yes.
Right. Pine Tree might be a feeder line where they're going to say, I'm not burying that, but maybe all the cross streets. I'm not, talking design, but when they talk, they're not burying feeder lines. They're burying they're called laterals. Those are the neighborhood lines.
The ones, well, like you discussed with AT&T, like through Pine Tree Park. The one that you said AT&T already acknowledged that they were going to.
Right.
But that's a carport.
It's a little different because, right, they're taking from the wooden poles to the concrete poles. They're taking them off the poles completely. The top lines, I should always say this, start off with this. Every line you should treat, if it's a line that falls in a storm, you should always treat every line, even if you think it's an 18 line or as a live wire. I've had professionals got it wrong. So you always treat every line as a live line, any down line, any down wire. So there's gonna be an outreach. FPL is gonna come here. They're gonna reach out to the community because they gotta go locate those transformers. But it's great news in my opinion, because I think they should all be buried. All lateral lines should be buried. So,
Can I ask one question?
of course.
I know we have talked, they might be familiar with it. Are we still trying to get them to move Venetian's line away from going to the park?
Yes.
And down Venetian Way and tie into Pine Tree? Is that
Yes.
anything in the
That-
horizon?
That started even before. Dan told me this, that he was working on trying to get FP&L. There's a line that is incredibly stupid. Sorry, it's not smart. It's insane. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. There's a line that goes right in the middle of our park, Pine Tree Park, and goes down to Venetian. So Dan has been trying, I've been trying. I remind FP&L, they understand there's an issue. Even with this bridge closure, Bill was there, I brought it up again. They don't need that line. They can go down Pine Tree and get rid of that line. That's totally an FP&L line. It's not, no, it actually is an AT&T. AT&T is actually there too, and they already agreed, we think, to bury it. So, but I can't get FP&L yet to say yes. So, but it's definitely on my list.
Still pushing.
Still pushing. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
The next thing is just talking about the phones, that we're going to change the phones, and about the lead pipe. I think I talked about that. The meter changes, the entrance signs. I don't know if you all noticed the entrance signs. I think they came out great. The utilities department did a great job. They acid washed them, they painted them, they put the grout in there. I mean, they just did a great job. They look very well, very nice. I got already a few comments thanking the town. Last but not least, we're on the Lake Worth sub-regional. We all shared that line that was ruptured. So it's not like it's Lake Worth's problem, it's all of our problem. There's 10 municipalities that flowed through that line. Lake Worth did an incredible job of not only fixing it, but they're also took on the burden financially. They're already up to $10 million of damages, not environmental damages. These are hard costs of changing pipes and all that. They've hired an attorney to try to get the claim. They had to take a bank loan, trying to help them any way I can, a 4-year bank loan to pay for this. They didn't have the resources to do it. So they took up to a 15 million bank loan. They're already over 10 million. And so I thanked them at a public meeting for being very good stewards and helping us all out, because they could have just sent us a bill, because we own part of that pipe too. So they did the right thing. And I just want to make sure you all know that. And whenever you see a council member or a staff member in Lake Worth Beach, please thank them for us.
Thank you, Betty.
So I did that already, but please thank them. That's my report.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have one question. Thank you, Mr. Lobello, for that great report. How many, I know we got 39 questions to answer for the charrette. How many questions did we actually have? Do we have a number on that? Because I've had some residents say that they were concerned that their question wasn't going to get answered or this or that.
Staff went over them. The raw total, help me out, guys, probably was 10 or 20 more than that. We didn't delete a lot, but there's some that were just exactly the same question. So we took out a few, but we still down to 39 questions.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, council comments? Councilwoman?
Yes,
Osborne?
I just want to encourage everybody to watch the charrette. It'll be a great information session. I've spoken with more than a dozen experts in sewer and FAU and UF and engineers, and I'm still looking forward to learning a lot from this meeting. Also in the last month, I went to a county traffic department tour that was offered to elected officials. It was quite interesting. They've got, like a war room with a wall full of screens that has all the major roads on it, and they're all rows of them like at NASA sitting and trying to direct traffic. Clearly, they did not do very well today.
That's different department. That's the county and that's DOT, is totally different.
The fishing camp lunch was delightful. The kids were adorable and they were all very excited. And I went to a couple League of Cities events as well lately, and that's it.
Thank you.
So I hate to bring something up that I wanted to revisit since I know we're all getting to the end here, but can we revisit the process for board appointments and potentially removal if that ever needed to happen? Is that something, Joe, we can instruct to have staff look at other municipalities and what their process looks like and actually have a memo or presentation on that?
I don't think I need a consensus. I agree. So let's do that. We'll get out the code. We'll print that code, see what the actual and then we'll survey other communities on how they do it. So what options are there to change our code?
Okay, great. Outside of that, I just wanted to also offer the Historical Society of Palm Beach County would be thrilled to come and speak with Footprints if they're ever interested in learning about their local history as one of their speakers. I don't know how you guys select the speakers, but they do that free of charge. And I also just want to thank staff for everything that you guys do. I personally get so much positive feedback about our town staff and our police force. And so I feel like I live in the jewel of Palm Beach County. And I know so much of that has to do with you guys and your hard work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to echo that sentiment. Thank you. We're only as good as our people behind us and the staff. That includes the law enforcement. That includes our administrative staff. We can't do our job effectively if we don't have you working behind the scenes. So thank you. I do appreciate you.
Thank you.
So I do have one thing to bring up that I'd love to have the town prepare for. In August 31st, 2024, our current attorney who goes to Tallahassee advocates for us. His contract is coming to be renewed in August 2024. And I think it's prudent that we go to marketplace. He's done a great job for us and gotten us a lot of money over the years and worked diligently for our town. But it's been maybe 10 years, I think he's been our attorney. So I think it's prudent of us to actually check that out. And
a lobbyist?
He's
a lobbyist.
Lobbyist.
Sorry, Mr. Shack. Sorry, Mr. Shack. Our lobbyist.
Straight though.
Yeah, for the point of order, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our lobbyist in Tallahassee, not Mr. Shack. But it has been, Joe, I believe 10 years. He's been working for the town for at least 10 years.
I can't verify the date, I'm sorry, but
Okay, it's been a while.
Right.
And I think it's incumbent upon us to see the marketplace. It doesn't mean that our current lobbyist is going anywhere. It just means that we need to make sure that the town's getting the best representation as possible in Tallahassee. So what I'm requesting is that we agree and consent that the town can, Joe, research some folks, bring that to the table and make some suggestions on some folks that would be a good fit, or, kind of look at that and give us some recommendations from that perspective, from our lobbyist perspective. Is that something that you need a consensus on, or what do we need to do? A vote? What do you need?
a consensus, or what do you, either way, motion, consensus. But I think the two options you're bringing up is an RFP process, or do we just make a few phone calls and see who Palm Springs uses and who Lantana uses someone, so that, we can just call them, or obviously I know the ones in North County, or we can get an RFP. So first, do we want to do it? You're correct. Our lobbyist contract expires on August 31st. So it's not something that we have to have in place the very next month, but we shouldn't go too long if you want to keep those kind of services.
So we could discuss it and make that decision at the next meeting, or because the proximity, we'd have to go out to RFP tomorrow, basically.
No, I don't want to force your hand. That's what I'm saying. It's you can do either or nothing. You can John just said, just to get a few and get them in here, we can do a presentation. We can do it that simple, or we can do an actual RFP where we look at the marketplace. So it's totally up to you, because they really do work for you all.
And I was thinking maybe a presentation or proposal or something of that nature, just to see what's in the marketplace. I think that's, as an employer, I am an employer, I do hire people, and I go to the marketplace even when I'm not looking for anybody to hire, just to see what they're making, what they should be making, what's expectations. And it just gives me a good sense of, am I treating my team well? Am I delivering? Is there something out there I should be looking for, expecting differently? So I think it's just important, for the town that we do that as part of our process consistently, to make sure we're getting the best of the best. So I don't know, I don't know if we have a consensus on having them come in and do a presentation, getting some folks is what I was expecting. But I mean, if we need to do an RFP or have a conversation,
It's totally up to you. I would first see if you want to actually do anything, or you want to renew the
I would
contract.
say you need to find out some numbers before we throw the baby out with the bathwater. See what the numbers are. I don't know how long Ackerman LLP has been our lobbyist, but it never hurts to look at numbers to see what they're doing. But the request for proposal is a whole nother ballgame. So I think if you, as the manager, made some phone calls, just inquiring, just to see, feel things out, and then we could go from there.
Not only their cost, but their track record. What they've accomplished. I mean,
Our track record with our lobbyists has been great. It's the governor that vetoes everything we get. That's part of our problem here, is everything has been vetoed.
no, so your lobbyists have been successful. Is there other lobbyists out there that are more successful, less successful? the
we
same?
don't have any idea.
Right, I'm saying, I agree with you. to
Yeah,
move
no,
forward,
I-
To get a feeler out there.
Yeah.
You would know that through a manager's meeting.
So let me ask this question. On August 31st, when this contract expires, is that something that comes before this council to be renewed?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think it's just important that we get some information and some data, irregardless of how much money is done, whose fault. I'm not passing, and I'm saying he's done a bad job. I'm actually saying it's important as council member to go to the marketplace and make sure we have accurate data and that we're up to speed on what's available in the marketplace. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, if we want to say, let's vote for this in August, it's fine, but I don't think that's prudent. I think we need to have a little information. That way we can feel confident in August. This is our guy, this is our team. And we feel confident about that because we went to the marketplace and made sure there was nothing out there that we could get better. It is $36,000 a year, $3,000 a month. Okay, something we'll think about.
I think what you're saying is important. And I also agree that what Mayor Freebold just brought up is also important. I would love for us to have the information so we can really make a decision about that.
Yeah.
So do we all feel good about Joe reaching out and getting the information based on what Mayor Freebold just said? Also, where was that in our report? I'm sorry, about the expiration.
No, it wasn't in here.
It wasn't
Oh.
in here. It's just conversations that we've had
Oh, okay.
on some of these things. Okay. So, well, I guess we'll table that. Enjoy spending my birthday today with you guys. Happy birthday to me. Enjoyed it. Love you guys. Glad you're here.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, John. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
I think we're all in agreement. We'll have Joe go do some R&D and come back with some resumes or some feelers. Is this the guy to stay with, or put him on the table with everybody else?
Yeah, I'm not saying do an RFP. I'm just.
No, I'm not saying
Yeah,
RFP.
RFP does not,
No,
yeah,
I'm saying
that's
go out.
expensive.
What cities are who they're using and how much they're paying.
I can do that.
Yes.
Whatever you tell me to do.
Yes.
Find that out. That's easy
And
information.
I'm sorry we didn't know it was your birthday.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
I think you didn't.
All right, this has gone on long enough. I'm gonna leave you with one thing. Lake Clark Shores is a gem. It is not tarnished, and it will always be a gem. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second,
Thank you for hanging in with us.
Ah.
okay.
And you, sir.
You could not do that.
And Bill, you